Oh, good morning. Welcome to the Nielsen Show here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Tom Gazzola, Joaquin Gage with you alongside the one, the only YouTube Bartholomew Trev. You're on EST. Hope you're doing well on this Wednesday. A little bit chilly out there, Joaquin. We've got hoodies on.
Yeah, I know. That was a shock this morning.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, the car was in the garage, but still, it was had to stop for gas.
Oh, no.
That wasn't fun.
You're like, what is this?
Yeah, what is this? Trying to get back in and warm up. But
Yeah.
no, I'm here. We're good. We're all right.
Your second foray into the AM Nasty, being a co-host.
Yeah, this was a little bit easier to get up for, actually, than yesterday, I felt. Yeah.
Oh, you talked about yesterday the stress.
Yeah,
Woke you. I know this because it keeps you awake. You wake up like every hour and a half. You're like, I need to get up. Oh, no, I still have 3 hours. Oh, I need to get up.
Yeah.
I still have 2 hours. Is that what happened?
Yeah, no, I think I woke up with in that 3-hour window, seeing I had 3 hours, and it went like that.
Yes.
I thought I just closed my eyes for 2 seconds, open them back up, and go, oh, it's time to get up. So that sucks when that happens. But
and then today?
Today was, I slept right through, and then right before my alarm went off, I got up, and that was it. So I'm already acclimatized to the situation.
You seem very spry this morning, and I think we're going to have a great Nielsen show. I'm not going to lie to you.
Hey, we just can't stop, won't stop here, Tom. You and I.
That's right.
Just two microphone warriors going at it.
That's right.
Picking up the slack for everyone, the sickly.
Good teammates. Yes, indeed. Lieutenant Eric still under the weather. Get well, pal. I guarantee you he's not listening right now because he's fighting off a nasty cold. And Matt Cassian, yikes, man. Had to go get checked out at the hospital. It was, sent home later on, which is great. And I think Cass maybe is good to go by Saturday for the pre- and post game. I don't know.
I hope so. When my first response, I'm in the hospital, is to say something like,
what happened to the kids?
Yeah.
Somebody break their arm.
Yeah, I wanted to say something to calm the mood, but then I was like, geez, maybe he's really feeling it here. But he said he was just checking the pipes and stuff like that. He's fine.
They're blocked because he had to I think he had to get like some medicine or something.
Well, worried about pneumonia too. That's that sucks. So
that does suck.
Yeah. Oh, wheezy Cass.
Oh, well, get well, Cass. Get well, Eric. Dusty getting some much-needed rest, so unfortunately, you have to tolerate me for the next day at least, and you get the treat of Joaquin Gage and YouTube Trev. Let's start the day off right. Trev with a conch. What do you say? To all the nasties out there tuning in the 6 o'clock hour, good morning, and welcome back if you're tuning in for the first time since the holiday break, and this one's for you. Please don't take it as a slight that it doesn't end the way we all hope it ends. It was never intended to be that way, but that's the best conch YouTube Trev could record, and he is no conch master a la Lieutenant Eric, who's had many years on the conch and practices every weekend at home.
I love it. It's so good. The ending is perfect.
What's great is he giggles on
I know.
on it every time. Good morning to everyone. Everyone getting into the nasty chat. Hop in there. Hit that thumbs up button if you're just joining us. If you're listening in your car, stay warm, drive safe, all that good stuff. We appreciate you. And if you want to text us, hit us up at the Paris Jewelers inbox, 780-218-9999. And yesterday, Gager, pre- and post-game, it felt like it was back to normal. Lots of listeners, lots of viewers as well. I think everybody was coming out of the holiday break and was excited about what the Oilers had been doing, and they had a lot to be happy about last night, a milestone night. McDavid hitting 900 points and then some, and then Edmonton reaching the 6th straight victory mark, which is also great. This team is on fuego, and you and I had the benefit of talking about it last night.
Well, yeah, and I think a lot of people were a little upset from the Team Canada loss in the morning. And and then getting back to a nice Oilers victory later on in the evening, it was good. This team's rolling right now. They're feeling it. You can tell the swagger of everyone throughout the game, the way they're speaking. I liked what I heard from Warren Fogle yesterday before the game.
That was good.
He's feeling like I've always been a fan of Warren Fogle, and how we've been talking about how in years prior it seemed the play always died on his stick, right? And
that's fair.
This year he said he feels more comfortable in the city. I don't know, maybe it's age. I just feel like I'm supposed to be here. I'm part of something, and you can see it in his play. He's creating stuff on the ice. Overall, he's had, I think this is his best year as an Edmonton Oiler. He's been the most consistent, I think, throughout all the dark times too. A lot of times he was the Oilers' best player, so good for him. It's good to see.
I'm very happy to see contributions from guys like him and McLeod, obviously, bottom six guys. Derek Ryan sometimes gets in on the scoring. Every now and then you get a Matthias Janmark point, but that's not supposed to be his forte. It's the two-way game for sure. But with Fogle, it's interesting. It is a contract year for him, and it's always neat to see how it motivates players. And you go, well, why can't you play like that all the time? And listen, that's the devil's advocate. Try to be a bit of a contrarian, but it's good to see that he's showing up and he's getting into the meat of his career, and he wants to stay in the National Hockey League. And the way he's going to be able to do that is by playing the way he is. And then the other thing too, Gager, you talked about him searching for an answer as to why he's more comfortable. To me, at least, and listen, I'll throw it out there, and you might say, no, that might not be it. But when Jesse Puljujärvi was finally traded and Fogle wasn't a healthy scratch and he could play in the third line role, whether it be right side, left side, sometimes slide up, sometimes got forced into the fourth line at points because the Oilers had a pretty busy bottom six and had guys that they could use on different nights, with Klim Kostin, with Bjugstad there, and some serviceable players for sure. But to me, the flip of the switch happened when Puljujärvi was moved on from, and Fogle was a regular in the lineup, because there were times last season he was a healthy scratch, but down the stretch, he was an everyday player, and he started to skate and move and not let the puck die on his stick. Do you think that's fair too?
Yeah, you have something there. I think there's a side of to become comfortable. And maybe that was a portion of it. Not that I think you do need competition. You have to fight for your spot.
Fair,
but to know that you're going to be in the lineup more on a regular basis, and you can really kind of focus in on what your responsibilities are and what you need to accomplish. It does, to me, that seems to get a little bit easier for players as they mature and become everyday NHLers, and maybe that's a little bit of it. I mean, doesn't he still drive an F-150?
Well, Fergie says he does.
Okay.
Fergie texted, says, great to be alive, good morning all, and then says, Fogle's a truck guy.
He's a truck guy like Dusty,
Dusty's a truck guy. I love when Dusty has to fill up on gas, and he goes, do you know how much this costs? I went and filled up, and it was ridiculous. I think it was Will Fraser came in here one day, shortly after Dusty got that truck, and it was like, boy, wait till he has to go get gas.
Oh, yeah.
And Dusty comes in back to the office, and he goes, man, it was expensive.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you know how big that tank is, and you know how big that engine is, and how much weight it's pushing and hauling, and he's like, wow, it's nice being a truck guy. It's like, well, it comes with the price tag, dude.
Yeah, he's not helping anyone move.
No. No, unless they're paying for gas. But, no. And, dude, I have a car that takes premium, and that thing's a pig, too, even though it's a nice, efficient six-banger.
Yeah, no, mine.
It's just like.
Mine's fine. Gas is. And I heard today that gas is probably going up, too, this summer.
Well, I'm going to have to stop at Costco on my way home.
Yeah.
Get those conch requests in. We do have a great show for you, and we will catch up with you. See his smiling face there. Noodles himself, Jamie McLennan, will stop by at 7 o'clock. We'll also hear from Guy Flaming, host of the Pipeline Show, and you can catch him on Oil Kings broadcast, so working alongside Andrew Peard in the booth. The Oil Kings playing well of late. It's been a tough season, but they have more wins already than they did last year, and I suppose that's progress, and I'm sure Kurt Hill, Luke Pierce, are hoping to double up their win total in the second half of the season. The trade deadline's coming up right away in the Dub Gager, so we'll catch up with Guy. And then, of course, 3 questions too many, kind of easy trivia. We'll get to that around 8 o'clock. And then at 8:20, ESPN senior hockey writer Greg Wyshynski will stop by. We'll go all around the National Hockey League. Lots to talk to him about. And then, we're going to hear about the World Cup coming up. Bettman teased it on the Winter Classic broadcast. We'll ask Wish about that. The Olympics, we kind of joked about how the arena hasn't been built yet, or they haven't really even started in Italy. And I'm like, well,
they'll get to it.
When they're ready, they'll get there, and it'll be mastercraft. The craftsmanship will be amazing, and the best cement and the best finishes, but don't tread on me, the Italians say, when it comes to timelines, because they do it at their own pace. Trust me.
It's
I know.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
Playing in Italy was an eye opener.
What did you take away from playing in Italy?
Well, because normally in a normal kind of hockey day, just you'd practice in the morning, maybe there was a workout after, and then that was kind of it. Yeah. Maybe some places there'd be maybe 2 a days, depending on the time of the year. But you'd be like in the mornings, our routine was go work out at the gym,
okay,
and then we wouldn't practice till like 8 at night.
What?
Yeah.
Is that to simulate a game night?
I have no clue.
That is so strange and a waste of a day.
Very strange, because you're just sitting around waiting to practice all day, right? It does suck. So you'd work out, but then, you might want to do something, get something done during the day. I mean, not that we had tons to do, but everything's closed from 11:30. Everyone goes home for lunch. Everything shuts down for not just a half hour lunch, 4 hours.
Well, you got to make the pasta.
Yeah. So everyone goes home and eats a massive meal, has a nap, and then they come back to work in the evening. They might work for another 2-3 hours, then go home, relax, and then go out to eat at 8 or 9 o'clock. My son was, I guess, 2.5, 3 at the time. We'd get to a restaurant, he was young, so we'd go out 6:30. We'd be the only people in the restaurant, right? And then,
wow. And
then so around 8 o'clock would roll out, and then people would start pouring in. And it's just, you have to get used to the lifestyle of not being, you can't do anything. So you just go sit around and you drink coffee and all day. Trust me, you get used to it.
Yeah.
But it's compared to here where it's just go work 24.
Well,
it's just crazy. And there it's just, hey, let's get to it when we get to it.
You know what's funny is that reminds me of my grandma and grandpa, Nono and Nona. My Nono would get up. After he retired, he was a carpenter. Shocker. And he had his own workshop in his garage, and he'd make cabinets for friends and just sell it on the side and whatever. Work on projects all the time. He'd get up at 7. He'd be in the garage for 4 or 5 hours. Then my Nona would make lunch. Then he would go and read the paper, fall asleep for an hour, and then get up and then go back to the garage, finish up whatever he was doing for the day. My grandma would have a little nap, and I'd be like, do I have to take a nap now? What's going on? So that explains that. I like that. I didn't understand. So that was taken from Italy back in the old country,
for sure.
How they did it. Well, I learned something new every day. Let us know your experiences in Italy. 780-218-9999, the Paris Jewelers inbox. If you want a conch request, get that in as well. Let's fire it up. It is Wednesday. We're already halfway through the work week. That's fantastic. And looking forward to a big weekend as well. It will be a little bit chillier, bundle up, all that good stuff. It's Edmonton. It's January, and we've had a sweetheart winter so far, for sure. We're going to get hit with some snow, I'm sure. We're going to get hit with some cold weather, I'm sure. We're going to have a week of -30 at some point, and we're going to go, oh, damn it, why can't it be like it was in December? Can't always be that nice.
Bones has a good one here.
What does Bones have?
That contract is literally my last 5 relationships. Short and don't end well. Great job, Tommy and Gage.
Good conch to that, Bones.
That's a great one.
Fire
Bones.
it up.
Thank you. There's Bones' relationship.
Ooh. Ends with a sputter. Is that Damn Naeus in the nasty chat says live from Cancun, Mexico, taking Everton Sports Talk to the world.
Nice.
Stan, the 8-1-1 in their last 10. Jets fan. Hey, Stan. All right. Conch to you for tuning in all the way from Mexico. Great spot. Cancun. Love it. I've got another one lined up here. I just want to hear the conch again. Okay. Maria says, after foot surgery, today I get to drive home for the first time in 6 weeks. Wow. Woo! Freedom. I'd sure love a conch. We got one for you, Maria. Dylan Sinkovich says, that conch is a gosh darn work of art. And then Joel says, Oilers, fire. Fire conch. I think we can fire one up for both of those. Yeah,
for sure.
Oh, Strummy says, that conch is Patrick Steffen's empty net attempt.
That's a good one.
Well said, Strummy. Bumblebee tuna, my friend. Bumblebee tuna. Noodles coming up just after 7. Guy Flaving at 7:40. We'll talk about Oil Kings and the trade deadline and the dub and all that good stuff. Of course, kind of easy trivia at 8. Do you want to do the questions again today?
Might as well.
You were great yesterday.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
You were great. And then
mess with a winning streak, Tommy.
No, we'll keep the good times going. And then we've also got 3 questions too many. So if you have any questions that you want to ask Gager, Trev, myself, or just in general, maybe life advice or something like that, hit us up, 780-218-9999, Paris Jewelers Inbox, or the Nasty Chat. And then later on at 8:20, we've got Greg Wyshynski from ESPN, and we'll go around the National Hockey League, and then we'll wrap things up around 8:40. It's Gazzola. It's Gager. We're having fun. The Oilers with a big win yesterday. Also, did you see this David Tepper? He is the owner of the Carolina Panthers. They lost 26-0 to the Jags. And there's video of him. He's getting made fun of in his suite by a Jags fan. And throws a drink on this fan. $300,000 the National Football League fined him. I'm watching PTI yesterday, getting ready, doing some show prep for pregame, and Wilbon's throw the book at this guy, and they won't because Goodell works for him and the other owners, and then there's other people writing articles about how this spoiled brat of an owner isn't happy because his plaything, the Carolina Panthers, are doing so poorly. They're 2-14 this season. They've got Bryce Young. That is a work in process. They don't have the first overall pick in the upcoming draft. And a fan gets to you and you throw a drink on him? You're a billionaire. Don't be a stupid idiot like that.
Yeah, no, I think they should throw the book at him. That happens in any other walk of life. It's a ridiculous way to act. We were talking about, what were we talking about? The Ottawa Senators, from when things start going bad, or when things are bad at the top, it filters down throughout the whole organization.
Right.
And you want to show a positive reflection of the team, just like any player or anyone in the front office, management. Totally conduct unbecoming of someone, an owner of a sports franchise. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Shape up.
Shape up. Work in progress, not process. Dum-dum. It's 6:21 on 2. The brain isn't. It's the monkey up there is not working hard enough just yet. But Deadspin ripped him a new one. But that's kind of Deadspin's thing. Although for good reason. But it is kind of true. Gager, these billionaires, good on them for achieving what they have and being able to go and spend $2.4 billion on a franchise to have as a showpiece. But this guy's gone through a bunch of coaches in 6 seasons. I think they're at 4 head coaches, 2 interim coaches. They brought back Steve Wilkes at some point as an interim coach. Obviously, he's moved on. But, it's just come on, dude, you can't do that. Hop in your PJ when you're losing.
Yeah.
Crack a bottle of vodka or whatever you want and then unwind a little bit. Don't throw a drink on a fan. And if you're a fan, you shouldn't, in theory, accost the owner of the other team, but fans are fans, and they pay for those tickets, and they pay to support their team, and it's going to happen.
Yeah. Players would get
heckled.
Yeah, they get, you got to have a little bit thicker skin than that.
Yeah.
And be better then.
Be better.
Be
better. Dylan wants to know where Macramella is. They need him. Yes, Eric is on holidays. He is out of country. I asked the same thing.
Back in Egypt?
No, he's not in Egypt. I believe he's somewhere very warm. Owanik told me yesterday. I was like, what's going on with Macramella? He is Jamaica.
Oh, gosh.
He's in Jamaica.
The Pharaoh in Jamaica, I guess. Hey? So, wonder if he has a sarcophagus down in his basement there.
Of course he does. It's lined. It's not lined in gold. It's just forged in gold. Okay. He's a fancy boy.
Yeah.
But I like Macramella. He's a funny dude. Yes, no Eric Macramella. He is in Jamaica enjoying a little bit of a vacation. Just like, who was away the other day? I was trying to get Jonathan Davis on to talk about the Ducks. It's hard to find beat writers who cover the Ducks.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they moved everyone over to, Kings coverage.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why?
Like Eric Stevens, Iceman Cometh on Twitter/X. Just nobody cares about Anaheim.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when they're not winning, they're kind of just like a forgotten franchise. They're Arizona to a certain extent, although they have been relevant. They have won a Stanley Cup. They play in an arena that isn't made for college kids.
What that team? I'm forgetting their young star player that got injured.
Zegras?
Not Zegras. The new young kid, Swedish kid.
Oh, Leo Carlson.
Yeah.
Sprained MCL.
Yeah, I saw that hit when he went down.
It looked nasty.
It did look pretty bad. But I'm kind of waiting for Zegras to kind of. Is it mature the right word? Just he's tremendously skilled, and he has a nice attitude where he borders on the flamboyant side and creates some buzz. I was hoping that he took the next level of becoming, one of the big stars. And I know he was injured this year a little bit, so I think hopefully in the next few years those two can kind of bring that franchise back. I always liked the Ducks. The Mighty Ducks. It was kind of funny, the movie. Just the
great movies, except for part 3.
Yeah, the big duo of Korea and Solani.
They were great.
They were just awesome.
Steve Ruchin was a nice third wheel.
Yeah, a great third wheel. Canadian University stud. It was. I always remember playing the Ducks and always a little bit jealous because they'd roll in and they were always so tanned.
Orange County's nice, man.
They always look. Gary Volk. I mean, he was the same color as the jersey half the time. But
Edmonton boy from MLAC.
Yeah.
So. They have a great setup down in Anaheim. They really do. They built a new practice facility. The arena is beautiful. It honestly is.
Yeah. It's crazy how nice that place is.
That's one of those ones that, in a rare circumstance, it came in under budget and they had millions of dollars left over to spend, so they just put marble all over the concourses. Yeah. And you walk around there, you're like, it's immaculate in here.
It's in the dressing room too. That green marble. That's it's very nice.
This is super nice, and they're doing upgrades to the seats and stuff. They used to be orange, now they're nice, but they're black, and they have that faux leather. But it is a neat corner of the NHL that I think if you're a player and you want to be comfortable, that's a perfect spot to land.
You asked me yesterday if I waved the wand and who would you bring in. I was thinking about Gibson, but I think I still stick with Fleury. I think that would be a better suited candidate if the Oilers could do anything in net and have anyone else to go with Skinner. Gibson might be number 2 there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Fleury, I understand why you'd have that thought because he's not sticking around for a long time.
No.
He's 38 years old, almost 39, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
How much longer does he want to play? I don't know. Does he want to? I don't know. Minnie's not having a great go of it right now. And maybe, like you said, I like what you said about that last night where you said that if you have a guy that needs to carry the load in the postseason, has the experience, is not going to be overwhelmed by the situation, he, to me, seems like a guy that could go in there and give you some damn good games. So I don't know how realistic it is. That's something that I'm sure we'll hear more and more about as the season progresses, but I like that option over Gibson. Gibson looked tired the other night, and I know he's not getting a lot of help in front of him, but Gager, like, he's spinning around looking for pucks. There was that Kane wraparound goal where I know it hit the ref and Gibson yelled at the ref, but I'm like, what are you doing? You didn't even play that well.
Yeah, no. It's playing in that organization for this long and them doing so poorly and having games when you should have won, it just the amount of wasted performances that he's had over the past few years, that's draining, right? Yeah. So you're competitive as anything, and you want to get those wins, and things are going well, and then things just fall apart. That's got to be tough. But looking at Fleury, I mean, $3.5 million cap hit, right?
Right, and then by the end of the season, there's how much left? I mean, they're in cap hell, right?
I know.
Among other teams,
you would have to do something, but again, he has a no movement clause. But maybe
that is true.
I'm just hopeful.
That is true. I understand, and it was a wave the magic wand scenario too last night on the post game show. But I understand that. How realistic?
Who knows?
I don't know. Who knows?
Hey, the goalie's going good. I'm not saying do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I shouldn't even be talking about that. I'll lose my card. Maybe ask Noodles.
We can ask Noodles. We will definitely ask Noodles because the Toronto situation is dire between the pipes. Although Martin Jones picked up a shutout against the Kings yesterday. Who saw that coming?
I did. Going up against your own team. Yeah, I think I said that.
I like that.
Mike must have been off.
I want to read this one. Let's get that conch ready. I like it. A couple here. One from Red says, yeah, congrats on inheriting daddy's money and acting like a whiny, spoiled brat. David Tepper, owner of the Carolina Panthers. And then Vance Van Vandervan says, EST legal analyst and guy whose Jamaican vacation is just a clever ruse to cover for the fact that his balls are stuck in the toaster again.
Oh my gosh.
That's bad. Conch for both of you in Red. Beautiful. Oh, fantastic. Let's get to a sports update now. Brought to you by Green Plan, providing you with award-winning environmental planning and consulting services, whether it's municipal, industrial, or residential. Plan it right with Green Plan. Visit greenplan.com. That's green-plan.com, or give them a call, 780-455-4292 in the NHL. Connor McDavid put together a neat and tatty 5-point night, eclipsing the 900-point milestone in the process as the Oilers won their sixth straight game in a 5-2 victory over Philadelphia. The Flames, meanwhile, defeated the Wild 3-1, while Winnipeg doubled up Tampa 4-2. The Preds continue to hold down the top wildcard spot in the West, 3-0 that they blank the Chicago Blackhawks. And then Arizona, who the Oilers are chasing, falls 4-1 to Florida and sits just 1 point up on the Oilers. However, Edmonton does not play for a couple of days. They're off today, Gager. The Oilers are off today.
I thought it was 12 o'clock practice.
All the discussion last night in the press box was, 12 o'clock practice. But then we got the update, and it was players off. So that's nice. We're okay with that. At the World Juniors, the semifinals are set. Canada fell to Czechia in the quarterfinal as Jakob Stansel's goal with 11 seconds left to break the 2-2 deadlock in the third period eliminated our boys in dramatic fashion. The Finns, meanwhile, defeated Slovakia 4-3 in OT. Sweden gets by Switzerland 3-2 in OT as well, while the U.S. took care of business against Latvia 7-2. In the NFL, like we were discussing, Carolina Panthers owner David Tepper has been fined $300,000 by the league for throwing a drink on a Jaguars fan on Sunday. The league called Tepper's action unacceptable as his team was en route to a 26-zip loss to the Jags. Also, the Jets and running back Delvin Cook have agreed to part ways, allowing the 4-time Pro Bowler a chance to sign with a Super Bowl contender. Tonight, we're going to see the Raptors begin a 6-game road trip as they take on the Memphis Grizzlies. And then I'm going to do a weather update because I feel like it. EST weather. Today, we'll see mainly cloudy skies with a high of -4 and a low of -10 overnight as we enter the dog days of the winter. This sports update brought to you by Greenplan.
I might have to start hanging out more with Clausen and just
beauty,
and then get my meteorologist degree from osmosis with him. Then I can be the weatherman.
You would be a great weatherman.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Clausen did this, but nowadays you could get, I think it's the University of Mississippi provides a online meteorological degree.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
I don't even know what it's called.
Meteorologist degree?
Yeah. But I mean, really, I'm basically a meteorologist now.
Yeah, you are.
I'm right 30% of the time. It's perfect.
Anything outside of a 3-day window, it's going to change around here. Jocelyn, I like this. Jocelyn texts in Paris Jewelers inbox 780-218-9999. Tommy, you forgot the Canes beat the Rangers. Yes, they did, Jocelyn. Yes,
they spanked them.
6-1.
Yeah.
A hearty 6-1. Jocelyn, my bad. By a lot, she says. By a lot. Strummy says, Bumblebee Tuna Boys, 900 points in 602 games. And that's why we call him McJesus. And Strummy was nice enough to include a photo in this text of Mel Gibson talking to Jesus. And I believe, what was that?
Passion of the Cross.
Christ, yeah. I heard that was a great movie.
With Jim Caviezel or whatever? Is that who it was?
Oh, yeah. Right. Whatever happened to him? Did his career just take off?
He did that movie. The one movie, I think Dusty talks about it. Frequency? Seen Frequency? That's a good movie with Dennis Quaid, I think it is. I really like that one.
Quaid.
But there's that other one, Sound of Freedom, I think.
Haven't heard. Haven't seen. I'm not a big movie guy.
I don't. Well, the years on a bus, Tommy.
You get to watch everything.
I've watched so many movies. It's crazy. It's just nuts. And then, I don't know. We'll see.
Dylan says, new weather segment, gauging the weather. I like that.
I like that. Holy smokes.
The DAE, I hope I'm saying that right. Do you know why the lock shop was a no-show yesterday? Trev, did you hear about that?
That's news to me.
It should have been, unless Huss was off. Dusty was away. Mr. Lean was tied up with the hangout getting ready for two guys and a goalie. I don't know. I assume that Huss and Patty G or the Cool Bet boys would be doing it.
Yeah, they the week before we had the break, they were doing it.
Yeah.
And in the morning, I'm pretty sure I saw it was scheduled on YouTube. So
yeah, and then I thought I saw Huss doing Winnipeg Sports Talk yesterday too.
Yeah, something must have happened.
I'm not sure, Dylan. Everything should be up and running today. Should have been yesterday.
Yeah,
I think so.
Well,
blame the weather.
Blame Gage.
Don't blame Gager. ContraQuest 780-218-9999. Paris Jewelers inbox. Get those in. We are in the Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen Studios as always. Popeyes, 5 flavors of wings now available. Signature hot, honey garlic, honey barbecue, garlic parm, and ghost pepper. $9.99 for 6 wings. DoorDash, skip the dishes, and Uber Eats. My favorite are the honey barbecue, but a close second, the signature hot, because they're not too hot. Like, I don't mind spice and heat. I actually like it. It makes me sweat. And I get like the Ronald McDonald red mouth. It's just, it happens.
The old lip sweat. That's not.
Yeah, I get that.
Never attractive.
No.
No, I like the heat. I got to bring it. I tried, I don't know, I think I went ghost pepper a few weeks ago, and I think I got signature heat because it wasn't.
But like the ghost pepper, it looked like more like Jay Milne, EST glue guy, when we had the watch party. He busted them open, and it looked like more of a rub than a sauce.
Yeah. I think it is more of a rub.
Yeah.
I'm all about a hot rub, Tommy.
You would be. You would be. Trev is giggling back there. Oh, get those texts in at the Paris Jewelers inbox, 780-218-9999, and the nasty chat as we roll along on this Wednesday morning. We do have Jamie McLennan coming up at 7, Guy Flaming at 7:40. Kind of easy trivia and 3 questions too many at 8 o'clock, and then at 8:20 it is Greg Wyshynski. Dex saying, is Macramella on today? No, he's not. He's in Jamaica.
I love how people know the schedule of the
That's
the
good.
Oh, it's great. So people are tuning in.
Yes, they are.
Looking for Macramella. I love it.
Yesterday in the press box, I had a young lady from OEG come up to me. Not an EST 6 o'clocker by any means, not a nasty. Probably hasn't watched us or tuned in, but she's like, I'm seeing your beer everywhere, all over social media. And I'm like, great.
Yeah.
She's like, it's crazy. It's crazy. So we're doing something right.
Yeah, I've searched it up and I love going through Instagram and seeing all the 6 o'clocker lager. I might need an Instagram page, I think.
Oh yeah, for all the action it's getting.
Yeah. So just post where you're having those delicious suds.
They are really, really good. They are on tap, or it is on tap now in a couple of locations. The Shamrock Curling Club. I think, did Belzy say the Summit restaurant at Silent Ice Center now has it as well? And then I also believe in Fort Sask, I'm looking for it, because a bunch of 6 o'clocker lager was being talked about yesterday. It's at a pub in Fort Sask. Where the heck is it?
Nice.
Do you remember the name of the pub? Damn it, I can't remember.
We'll find it.
We'll get it. I had it
Hey,
here.
have you? I heard that the Shamrock Club, where the Oilers are having a Bonspiel there in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Are you going to be there?
Yeah, are you playing?
Yeah, I won last year.
Oh, so we're not going to be on the same team.
So, but they not only do they have this 6 o'clock lager, but supposedly, I haven't had them yet, but they have the what they say is the best smash burgers in the city.
Well, there's a tie-in to Smash Burger there
Oh, is there?
through DCR, Dan, who does marketing for the Oilers. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's his side project, and those burgers are pretty damn good,
Oh,
apparently.
I love a good smash burger.
I haven't had one.
Really? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Cass and I went off on 2 guys. This was a few months ago, making smash burgers. I was making, my brother-in-law made some. They were just phenomenal. And then I made some, and then Cass broke down the why you do what you do with the onions and how it caramelizes and the whole chemistry of the smash burger. That's your next burger, Trev, is the smash burger.
Oh, I've had the smash burger.
Okay,
You've
all
had
right,
it?
okay,
Yeah.
Wow.
all right.
Okay.
It's solid.
It's a solid.
Oh,
burger,
it's so good.
You get that cast iron just like white hot, and just sear those burgers. Oh, that's good.
That's some good stuff. Well, I'm looking forward I'm not a curler by any means. I'm looking forward to camaraderie and good times at the Shamrock Club. That's coming up, 2 weeks from now?
Yeah, I think so.
10 days, something like that. I'm looking forward to it.
I beat 2 Olympians. Mark, is it Mark? Who was the other? And the girl, shoot, I forget her name now. Darn it.
Good job.
But yeah. 2 Olympic champions going down to the Gage team.
Did you just feed them like copious amounts of alcohol?
No, I just complete trash talk.
Oh.
Just got them completely off their games.
Yeah,
They're not
grill.
used to that. Like heckling.
Well done. Well done. Potts Bar and Grill.
There we go.
There we go. In Fort Sask. Thank you. Thanks, Kyle. Kyle reminded me.
Have you
Potts
had
Bar
it
and
on
Grill.
tap yet? Have you had
No,
it?
I haven't. I'm curious. I mean, I had a couple over the weekend. My dad had some left over. Old Redbeard himself, Scott Laurie, put aside a whole flat for my dad at the St. Albert Sobeys liquor store on the north end of St. Albert Trail there. And they were a hot commodity at Christmas. And my dad always, like, tucks away, like, the good stuff. Like, he'd be like, hey, Tom, there's a 6 o'clocker back there if you want it.
That's great.
And he had a 4-pack left, and so my brothers and I had it, and I was like, man, this is good. Like, even for me, it's hard to get.
Yeah.
I don't live by a Sobeys or Safeway liquor store. There isn't one, like, I suppose I could divert for like 5 minutes, but I always forget about it. And I'm like, people are like, hey, can you hook me up with some 6 o'clock or lager? I'm like, I wish.
Yeah.
People keep buying it, which is great.
I think Surveyor Brett, I think he goes to my Terwilliger store a lot. He might be in the one in Ellerslie too, but yeah, it's always gone. Like,
right.
And I went in there and it was packed, and I go, okay. And I didn't tell anyone because I was a little bit selfish. But then I went back in there, and someone, I don't know why, I think what happened was someone said, hey, it's here. Mm-hmm. I'll put one behind the other beers beside it for you so you can find it.
Oh.
So I don't know why that. Because there was one in the other section way in the back corner, and I found it and bought it.
Nice.
And so I probably ruined someone's day that they went back and looked for it and it wasn't there.
But your day was made by a nasty.
Well, yeah, because I couldn't find it anywhere else. That was a good work.
Well done to everyone enjoying the 6 o'clocker lager, and now it's available on tap. You can catch it at the Shamrock Club, Potts Bar and Grill in Fort Sask, as well as Mr. Mike's has it on tap now, and Summit Restaurant at Silent Ice Center in Nisku.
I got to get out to Silent Ice, too.
Me too. I haven't been there yet. Hopefully soon. Tuesday night hockey, apparently.
Oh, yeah?
Let's go play.
I got to stretch first.
Let's go play. We could go do it. Let's see what's going on in the nasty chat. Tommy and Gager don't talk sports. They just ramble about stuff for 3 hours. Thanks, Joe Belinaski. You know what? It's 6 o'clock. How about a conch to Joe for being a Debbie Downer there? What would you like to speak of, Joe?
Yeah, probably regurgitate some Oilers stuff.
We're definitely going to be doing that.
Yeah,
we've got noodles coming up in about 20 minutes, 15 minutes. We'll definitely talk about the Oil Kings. We'll definitely talk about other stuff going around the National Hockey League. World Juniors, Gager, Canada's loss. 11 seconds left. I'm watching Rousseau net. That third goal, you can't blame him.
No, very unlucky bounce with 11 seconds. I hated seeing all the comments online about this team, and I know it's basically looked at as failure when they don't win gold.
Right.
But look, Canada could almost ice 2 World Junior teams, and you look at the top talent, and this happens every year, so it's nothing new. But to see the players that they could actually ice,
half their team was in the NHL.
Yeah, it's crazy, and look, man, those games all going to overtime, like Switzerland taking the Swedes to overtime, like that. It's
that goal that Sweden scored too. The guy was clearly in the crease.
Yeah.
And that's the rules. As soon as you're in the crease, it's no goal.
They got screwed.
They got screwed.
Yeah. So again, it's an exciting World Juniors because it is wide open. This was almost. Can you imagine if the Switzerland would have got in there? I played with Michel Reason from Switzerland.
Wasn't he a first rounder to the Oilers?
Yeah, and Mish. And there's another funny story about Mish, but he was part of that. I think they won the bronze medal at the World Juniors when he played.
Yeah.
Like, they are celebrated in Switzerland. I think still to this day.
Wow.
Because of what they were able to accomplish. So too bad. It's nice to see countries that aren't the normal superpowers do well at those international tournaments.
Right.
So it's growing the game over there. I like it.
Now, Jakob Stanzel's goal was the one that sunk Canada, and I'm seeing headlines. I'm hearing discussion from our former network talking about, does Canada have a goalie problem? Again, that's why I said that goal is not on Canada's goaltender. That was a fluky redirection. Was it off a bonk stick?
Yeah.
Right. It was off a bonk stick. So what's your take? And people also throwing out there, hey, is this going to be a downturn for the Canadian junior team? What do you think of that? Are we overreacting here? Like,
everything goes in. There's different times where Canada is better than other years. This isn't the first time they've lost in the quarterfinals. They'll come back strong. You talk about goaltending. It's funny. I was watching some goalies at just at the Terwilliger Rec Center.
Okay.
There was some, and I mean I love the fact that there's goalie camps where goalies can really hone in on their fundamentals and their foundational play, which I think is one of the reasons Stuart Skinner is such a good goalie. His foundational base is so strong. But I wonder now that maybe it's a little bit too much. I said on Shaggy's show on the Got Your Back podcast, are goalies becoming blockers now?
Yeah, they are.
Are guys making saves anymore? And I looked at Carter Hart last night, and who has that really strong foundational base, great goalie, but he also has the ability to make that big save too at times, right?
Right.
Like he made a couple just unbelievable saves, and Stuart Skinner too. But the current state of Canadian goalies, the highly elite goalies, I think is a little bit worrisome for me, just because you don't see the flow and the ability of making saves. It's just trying to get out there, make yourself big as possible. Hopefully it hits you. You know, that's not going to work. You don't really see those guys, those Carey Prices coming out there. You're just like, this guy's unbelievable, you know? So I don't know what that means. I don't know how you get back to having the more, I would say, athletic goalie. I think there was a tendency to just go, okay, that kid's 6'4", can't really skate that well, but he's huge. We're going to throw him in net. But there's this maybe 6-foot guy that can move like a cat and has great balance and is able to do things, but he's only 6 feet.
That's Dustin Wolf right now.
Exactly. So watch that guy move.
It's incredible.
Holy smokes. And I know there was studies done, and I think they took years ago they took Fleury and they took Pekka Rinne, and somehow they broke down the amount of effort it takes Fleury to play a game and Rinne because of his size.
Yeah.
And so his movement was a lot less throughout the game, so he was able to
store energy.
Yeah,
is that the argument?
I think that was what it is. But I mean, gosh, it's and Rinne he almost played like a smaller guy. He was fantastic.
Great,
He was fantastic. But you don't see those guys that are really good on their feet and able to do those things. I think a lot of scouts have missed the mark with just looking at a goalie because he's 6'3" and over. I still think there's more than enough possibilities for a goalie. I mean, 6 feet, 6'2", 5'10". UC Saros is one of the best goalies in the league. He's 5'10".
Yeah.
But watch that Wolf play.
It's exciting.
He looks great.
Yes.
Man. He looks really good. His movement, I worry about his hips, but he's a fun goalie to watch.
There was another guy, Mikey DiPietro, that the Canucks had in their system, and I remember he was still a junior. He played for the World Juniors Canadian team. It's got to be like 5-6 years ago now. And there was a lot of hope for him. And I was like, oh, what's the deal with Mikey DiPietro? And the comparisons he was getting to was like Cujo.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, let's watch this guy. I mean, I loved watching Cujo. And unfortunately, it hasn't worked out. I think DiPietro, is he in Europe now, or maybe he's in the AHL still, but he's bounced around. He's not in Vancouver's system. And he got thrust into the Canucks starting job as a junior player when the Canucks were thin at goalie and had some injury issues, and he just got caved, unfortunately. Yeah. It's too bad. And he was the guy, like old school anticipation, reflex.
Yeah.
And he was just, I don't know, like you put him into that situation, it's pretty tough to succeed. But it wasn't a big dude who was a blocker. He was only 6 feet tall. And Gage, you're like, that's neat that they do like the sports science, and they say that a guy like who did you say they compared Pekka Rinne to
Marc-Andre Fleury?
And Fleury's not a small guy either, but he's not the biggest guy.
6'1"?
Yeah, he's okay size, whatever. But yeah, not a huge goalie by any means. I'll say this. Goalies in the 90s, early 2000s, they were around 6 feet on average, I would assume. Like Cujo's not a big guy. I think he's around my height. Eddie Belford, I don't think was a big guy. Dominic Hasek wasn't a big guy. Hasek was skinny and scrawny, and those guys were brilliant. Like, they were brilliant. Like, Waugh and Brodeur, those are big dudes for sure. Jaguar. But those guys were brilliant, and they anticipated, and they used their reflexes, and the gear that they were wearing, Gager, when you were playing, like, the weight of it compared to what the guys wear now. And those guys were starting 65 to 70 games a year.
Yeah.
And they won Stanley Cups, and they were great in playoffs, and they went deep every year, and they played for their respective countries in summer tournaments. Like, I understand the science, I respect it, but those guys did it.
Yeah.
It's doable.
It is, yeah, it's doable. I think, a couple big guys came in. I blame Gar Snow, big equipment.
Well, didn't he have, like, shingles stapled to his chest protector?
Oh, my gosh. He had so many cheaters. He developed this, like, he had the big shoulder pads, and this little flap would come up even more when he went down. So he was blocking the plexi behind the net.
He wasn't a goalie. He was an engineer.
Yeah, exactly. Not of hockey teams.
Oh. Hey-o. But how do you get away with that? Like,
oh, it was the Wild West. I remember seeing Patrick Waugh's jersey. That thing, you could have hung that from a flagpole and it would have covered, like, it was huge. And when he opened his arms, he was like Spider-Man. Like, it just like it fell out. Like, there was so many rule changes because these guys. Hey, not cheating, not trying.
True.
And, but yeah, there was a lot of little extra bits. I always remember Artur Zerbe would be, because they measure the pads, and then he would take his pads out into the parking lot and, like, drive over them to flatten them out and make them bigger.
Oh, dude. I think it was Corey Hirsch. And I was watching a game, just the late night Canucks game. I think he was still with the Canucks. And they were talking about the pads and how they were evolving and changing. And you were pulling, it was the era of starting to just pull them out of the box and you could just wear them without breaking them in. And he said that Corey Hirsch got a new set of gear and he took a hammer and he just started wailing on them for like 10 minutes. And that's all he needed to get his pads up and running back in the day. I vividly remember that story. And then Grant Fuhr, when he got traded to the Kings, and he was wearing like this nice fresh set of gear, and they're like, yeah, he just pulled them out of the box and he wore them that day.
And he wore tons of different brands too.
Brown,
he didn't care. I remember one game. It was after the Christmas break, and we went to go play. We're going to Colorado, and that's when they were dynamite. Tommy Salo, right out of the box, new Coho pads, he wore that game. And I'm like, are you crazy? Because those were still quite stiff.
Right.
And he was miraculous that game. And I was like, I don't know how you pulled that off with brand new pads.
Didn't you say, remember we were talking about Jack Campbell making the pad switch last year, and you said you wore Vons forever, and they were like butter, and the pillows on your legs. And then you had to switch to Coho, and you're like, oh, it was...
They were 2x4s.
Right.
But saying that, once they did break in, they were perfect. They felt really good. But, the start, it just took forever. They were so foreign. They felt completely different. It was like I was, wearing 2x4s on my legs.
Wow. Well, goaltending's an interesting thing. There's a science to it, obviously a mental side to it, and it's the most fun position to play in street hockey.
Yes, it is.
That's for sure. On the ice, no go for me. Gager, I played like once in Adam or something like that, and I was like, all right, this is going to be like street hockey. I think I let in like 8 or 9 and we lost, and I was like, never again.
Yeah, it's usually that or one shot off the shoulder, and then that's it.
No, it didn't happen. Nobody could lift the puck at that point.
Oh, good.
Yeah, thankfully. Get those texts in, 780-218-9999 or the nasty chat. Joe says, I wasn't complaining. I like that it's not 3 hours of Oilers. Sorry, Joe, my bad. I misinterpreted your nasty chat text. And then Fergie says, they can't talk about wardrobe selections as they clearly gave no time. Today's selection, oh boy, I thought this was a nice little number. Yeah. Casual, yet sophisticated.
Yeah, I think you guys are looking good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Trev.
Yeah, no worries.
Thank you very, very much. Nas26 has a couple of texts. I wanted to get to one earlier that said that Yeah, the Swiss didn't lose to Sweden. They lost to the ref, who should have a background check done on him. Find out if he bet on the game. That was an egregious,
terrible
non-call. It should have been waved off. He was the Swedish player was clearly in the crease.
Well, what about that other one, the little push with the stick and calling a penalty late too?
That was such a terrible. That was brutal too. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's so funny in Europe. It drives you crazy.
You said it yesterday.
I said it. They love being part of the game. It's just the way that they're brought up. Stop. Like, you don't want to notice a ref, but you watch them in I don't know. We got some pretty big football or soccer people that love it.
Yeah.
And you watch the ref in those games, like he gets in people's faces and he wants everyone to see him, and he's just
I hate
the
that.
refs they're wearing a different jersey, like they're peacocks out there, and they want to fly.
Peacocks don't fly. They don't fly, man. Just do your job.
I would have lost it. Like, I was mad watching that. And I never really get mad at sporting events. But to see a guy just kind of poke him with his stick and the ref looking, and you could see him, just the computer going, yeah, that's a penalty. I'm like, it has nothing to do with the game. Just give him a warning. Don't do that, or I'm putting you in the box next time for that. Yeah, the player shouldn't have done it, but it's not like, God, I hate that. It was so nothing.
In an important game.
Guys do that going to the bench all the time, just a quick jab behind the legs, right? You don't call that every single time, especially not with a minute left. Stupid.
Nas 26. Thank you for the reminder on that one, because that was beyond ridiculous. And you're right. Like, soccer officials in Europe, like, they become characters.
Yeah.
And people, he's doing the semifinal World Cup match. He's a good referee. Or this official, we hate him. We deal with him in Champions League. It's like,
the fact that they
know that?
Yeah, that's terrible.
They should be as anonymous as possible. Like, I'll just say this. Like, Wes McCauley, it's good that he brings a little bit of flavor to those penalty calls and all of that. And I know, like, the NHL has really bought into that. But sometimes I'm just like, just call the damn roughing penalty. Just say 2 minutes for roughing and get out of here. Like, I want to hear the music on the loudspeaker.
I do like his banter on the ice with players.
I hate the banter.
Really, I appreciated ref talking to you at times, but yeah, sometimes it's okay. Just ref the game.
Please just ref.
Pick your spots.
Please just ref. Oh my goodness. All right, let's get a conch in before the 6 o'clock hour is up. One to all the nasties who tuned in early, and those who are just waking up and joining us. Here's one for you, Gazzola, Gage, and Graham Hardy with you.
No, we haven't talked about I don't know, it's just a text number, but the WPHL yet. Emirates.
PWHL?
What did I say? PWHL?
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, no, sorry.
I got you. We'll talk about it.
No, I was reading what it did, the text.
The Montreal-Ottawa game yesterday.
Yeah, because Emirates Mashmeyer played. She's great. Really nice. I met her at the Battle of Alberta a couple summers ago.
The golf tournament.
No, it was we played. In Lloyd. So that's where she played, I guess. Yeah, for the
Bobcats?
junior team. Yeah.
They have a good hockey program out there.
So I think they lost in overtime. So
packed house at TD Place.
Yeah,
where the 67s play. Great stuff. Let's talk about that in a little bit, but we need to get to a sports rewind by Universal Rewind. How does that sound?
That sounds good.
Okay, and then we'll do a reset, and then Noodles will join us. It is the Nielsen Show here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Tom Gazzola, Joaquin Gage, and YouTube Trev with you. Let's get to a sports rewind brought to you by Universal Rewind, reminding you that regular motor maintenance will prevent costly downtime. Contact them today to learn more about their motor maintenance services. Choose experience, expertise, and quality. Choose Universal Rewind. Connor McDavid put together a neat and tidy 5-point night, eclipsing the 900-point milestone in the process as the Oilers won their 6th straight game in a 5-2 victory over Philly. Flames defeated the Wild 3-1, while Winnipeg doubled up on Tampa 4-2. The Preds continue to hold down the top wildcard spot in the West with a 3-0 blanking of the Blackhawks. Arizona they did fall 4-1 to Florida and sit just 1 point up on the Oilers. The Carolina Hurricanes with a big 6-1 win over the New York Rangers. That one's for you, Jocelyn. At the World Juniors, the semifinals are set. Canada fell to Czechia, as we were discussing there. Jakob Stanzel's goal with 11 seconds left and broke the tiebreak. 2-2, made it 3-2 in the third period, eliminating Canada in dramatic fashion. The Finns defeated Slovakia 4-3 in OT. Sweden gets by Switzerland, controversial 3-2 win in OT, while the U.S. took care of business against Latvia 7-2. In the NFL, Carolina Panthers owner David Tepper has been fined $300,000 by the league for throwing a drink on a Jaguars fan on Sunday. The league called Tepper's action unacceptable as his team was en route to a 26-0 loss to the Jags. Also, the New York Jets and running back Dalvin Cook have agreed to part ways, allowing the four-time Pro Bowler a chance to sign with a Super Bowl contender. Tonight in the NBA, the Raptors begin a 6-game road trip. They take on the Memphis Grizzlies. EST weather, we're throwing that in today. Today we'll see mainly cloudy skies with a high of -4 and a low of -10 overnight as we enter the dog days of the winter. This sports update brought to you by Universal Rewind. Let's do a reset when we return. Noodles will join us, and him and Gager will goalie out. .704 in Edmonton. You're listening to The Nielsen Show on Edmonton Sports Talk. Tom Gazzola, Joaquin Gage with you in for Lieutenant Eric and Dusty. Eric under the weather. Dusty just got back from Davos, getting a little bit of downtime, some rest, and some time with the fam. YouTube Trev doing his thing. As per usual, if you want to text us, 780-218-9999, the Paris Jewelers inbox, or get at us if you're watching on our YouTube channel via the Nasty Chat. And we do have Jamie McLennan coming up right away here. I want to get to this one text. Says, and it's from Oil City Dynasty. He says, I'll just come out and say it. It's straight up crappy that they don't leave you guys with all the sound clips. That stuff is a huge part of the morning show, and it's stuff we look forward to, especially after a big win. Sorry for the rant, but it's crappy. And he actually used the more vulgar term that starts with an S. I'm not using it at 7:05 in the morning. Oil City Dynasty, they did this to us at the old shop, too. They took all the toys home with them, didn't leave any of the fill-in guests, myself on the morning show or other people in the afternoon shows. But Eric and Dusty would take the bells and whistles with them, and they wouldn't allow us to use the goal songs, the conches. We had to work our way around it. We're doing that today. YouTube Trev doing a formidable job, and Gager and I making do with some, what's that, like a jazz little beat there?
Well, yeah, that's
funky groove.
That's how Noodles entered every room with his beatbox back in the day, like on the shoulder. So
I knew he had something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Let's bring him on. There he is, Jamie McLennan. He was giggling when he said that. Hello, Noodles. What's going on, pal? Where are you coming at us from? Did you get rid of that crappy cold medication that you were using last time?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I am in Vancouver, and I will be honest that I forgot because I got home a little later than I expected last night. And I forgot to set my alarm, but I had to pee and I woke up and I was like, oh my God, I'm on the show. So I was very excited. And I know I'm joking. I did forget to set my alarm, but I knew exactly that I had to be on the show. So I'm excited. But I'm in Vancouver. I called the Ottawa Vancouver game last night, which was a disaster for the Ottawa Senators, losing What do you do when you're calling a game and you're losing 5-0 after the first? You turn the broadcast into a podcast. You just start talking about the bigger thing. And it was a rough one for the Sens last night. They tried to make a game of it, make it it was 5-3 at one point, and then I don't know if you just want to go back on the highlights and look at the 6th goal against Gager, it is horrifying. They made it 5-3, and then they just flicked it in from center ice, and it jumped. It was like the old Toscala goal. It actually jumped in front of the goaltender and then went the other way. It was crazy. I felt so bad for Korpisalo, who had replaced Forsberg, who allowed 4 goals on his first 13 shots. So it was a rough night. But the best part about, I guess, my night, and obviously being on your guys' show and seeing your wonderful faces, is watching Edmonton, play before that game. So it was pretty good watching a bunch of games last night. But Edmonton dominated and Ottawa stunk. That was my night.
Noodles, I mean, good to see you first, buddy. It's been a while. It's always nice to see your shining face. Beginning of the year, I mean, I think over the past 3 years, I've always thought that the Ottawa Senators, with the young talent that they have, were going to push for a playoff spot. And it just hasn't worked out. I thought even with Korpisalo going there, I thought that would solidify the goaltending in some respect. What's the reason that these guys can't get it together and push in that division at all?
Well, obviously that division is very, very strong, and that's everybody in that division has gotten better on paper and they've grown. But the one thing I would look at is, I say it respectfully, I think the team, they've had a tough go, but there's some maturity here that they got to get to the next step from a maturation level. So there was a stretch, and I felt like I was giving them the kiss of death, where every time I was calling a game, and I was on that 6-game road trip, but they lost 6 in a row, there was something within the game that they couldn't handle it, where they'd be fine, they would have a lead, maybe it'd be 3-0, and something bad would happen, and they couldn't crawl out of that hole. And they would just kind of wilt a little bit, let a team back in it, and then they just couldn't get back to, that winning ways. It was confidence. And they're a team, I agree. Like I had them as at least the playoff team or pushing for the playoffs, and that just hasn't worked out. They've got a few games in hand here and there on on teams like Tampa. I think they still have 5 games in hand on Tampa. But at the end of the day, the way that they play, and they had the coaching change. Jacques Martin has done a decent job of trying to instill some confidence. Mm-hmm. But overall, they haven't got the goaltending. They haven't got their big players to make big plays at the right time. And as we see, it's star power. If your top players aren't delivering, the league just, the league will swallow you up. And that's kind of what's happening. And Vancouver was pissed off last night. They'd lost to Philadelphia on December 28th. They were kind of sitting there waiting for the Sens. The Sens had played 2 nights earlier and flew across the country. And they kind of got what Vancouver was waiting for them, because they just dominated them last night.
Jamie McLennan joining us now. Noodles coming at us from Vancouver. The Sens losing to the Canucks. I just watched that goal on Korpisalo. That's a tough one.
It looked like Jamie and I battling back in Worcester, Mass.
I was going to, we're on the Sens right now, but I was just going to throw this at both of you, having played in the National Hockey League and both playing pro for a long time. Are those little chips that tricky, or do you guys as a goaltending fraternity just be like, oh, we got each other's back. Let's not make fun of each other for letting those types of goals
Well,
happen.
I don't know if Gager saw that goal.
I just watched it. Yeah.
Okay. It did change directions, like drastically. I don't know how I would have played that. I don't know if I would have been out farther. You're down. He kind of opens up a little bit. Like kind of opens to grab it, kind of opens the door. From a technical standpoint, it's just such a weird play, and I don't think you expect it. And it was funny. I was talking to a couple of the Vancouver guys, like just in the media, and they're like, "Yeah, the ice is not great here as the game goes on." I didn't realize that. I always thought that Vancouver had pretty good ice. Now, thinking back to when I played here, played against the Canucks, you had Sedins, you had Brendan Morrison, you had Todd Bertuzzi. Like, they had really good teams. So I always just thought that the ice was tilted. Like, it was just, you were facing like some monster teams. So whether the ice was good or not, giving up a goal like that, it happens. You want to say the sun was in your eyes. You want to say, something bad happened or whatever. It's just a bad goal. Like, it's just the worst dagger, a bad goal that you can think of. I've given up some terrible goals in my career. One I can think of, the worst one I ever gave up was Jaromir Jagr from behind the net with 0.5 seconds left in a game to tie it. We were winning 3-2, and basically I handed the game back to the Washington Capitals because, I just was having about a rough 5 minutes. We were playing in Washington one night. I was with the Calgary Flames. It was 0-0 with 5 minutes left in the game. The game ended up 3-3. Olaf Kolzig and I both melted at the end of the game. But the worst part about it is the goals that went in on Oli were really good. The ones that went in on me, I should have skated right off and right onto the bus and maybe back onto the plane back to Calgary. They were awful. And when I see a goaltender give up a bad goal, because again, I've given up many in my career, my heart hurts. Mm-hmm. And like I didn't even know how to call it on TV. You're just like, oh, that's a dagger, and you're trying to justify, like, I changed directions, it did this. It was just a terrible goal, and there's nothing you can do about it. But it was bad timing, and the unfortunate part for Ottawa is they play tomorrow in Seattle. Yep. You got to recoup. You got to go right back at it.
Sometimes that's the best thing. But yeah, like you said, it was the timing of that unfortunate bounce too. And it's, sometimes, I don't know, Noodles, when you'd see those pucks and it was like definitely a stoppable puck. Sometimes you're 2 steps ahead. Like, you're going, okay, it's almost like a receiver in football running before he's caught the ball, right? You're looking, where am I going to move this puck? And then you just don't react well enough to it. Looking at it, probably could have stepped a little bit further outside and become more of a shortstop, getting your body in front of it. But I mean, it always seemed as a goalie, those types of goals happened at the most inopportune times that just put a dagger in your team. You're usually fighting back. Your guys are fighting for you. Just your stomach just sinks for that.
Yeah, the worst feeling in the world. The only other one I can remember, I mean, there's too many, but we were playing Chicago, and Lyle Lodeline took this muffin slap, kind of a half slap shot from the point. It was a clear-sighted shot. I'll never forget it in my life because the sound of the crowd in my ears rattled me because it was in Calgary. But he takes this little muffin of a shot, and it's going 5-hole. And I go to just kind of steer it to the corner. You're right. Like, you're already 2 steps ahead. Okay, I'm going to put this in the corner. We're going to do this. We're going to have the breakout. We're going to do this. And I just overplayed it, and it just went 5-hole. Oh. And the crowd, like, the sound of the crowd was like, oh. Like, it wasn't even shock or anything. It was like air came out of a balloon. It was just like, oh, my God, did you allow that? I will say, in my defense, the rest of that game, we ended up tying that game 2-2. And I stopped like 12 shots in overtime because I was so embarrassed of that goal. And then, the media afterwards is like, what happened on that goal? And again, I'm like, I'm not going to make any excuses. I just blew it. I was trying to think ahead to play it to the corner, and I just opened up and it went 5-hole. It was a dreadful goal. And I don't, Korpisalo doesn't have to speak after that. It was an awful game. The team was terrible. Whatever could have gone wrong went wrong for Ottawa last night, but it's all about how you respond the next game.
Yeah. Like you mentioned, Noodles, the Sens take on the Kraken. Then they come here this weekend on Saturday. That's Edmonton's next game. Yeah. Give us a sense of how things are around this team. I know you touched on the goaltending, how bad the game went in general for the Sens right now. You talked about Jacques Martin coming in as the coach again with the Senators, but there was also the front office shuffle, and Dave Poulin joins the front office. You know, Steve Staios, I guess, anoints himself the GM now, and some movement there. Give us a sense of the vibe around this Sens team, not only on the ice, but off the ice, because I know a lot of that, having, worked for the Oilers for many years while they went through coach after coach after coach and a few different GMs, that always kind of sets the tone. But what's it like right now around the Sens with everything that's happened?
Well, they've been hot and cold. They'd lost 6 in a row. They had the coaching change. There was the new coach bump. But what they have is they have these pockets of games where, like their previous game against Buffalo, where they were brilliant. Their power play was going. Anton Forsberg makes a bunch of saves. They feel good about themselves. And then you have games like last night where Vancouver just takes them to the woodshed. 2 games ago, it was New Jersey that had their best game. I had a buddy say this to me, and it was, I'll steal the comment. He's like, whatever ails a team, Ottawa finds a way to heal it for them. Where Carolina was struggling, they come in, they had lost 4 in a row, they beat Ottawa. St. Louis loses, changes their coach, they beat them. It was a situation where it was like they were facing these teams that were hungry and upset. And same thing last night. Vancouver's pissed because they left 2 points on the table against Philly where they didn't play very well. So what the Oilers are going to face is a Jekyll and Hyde team, a team that has the ability, a lot of skill, good young players. When things are going well, they could score. Obviously, they're very high up in the league in scoring. I think they're 3rd in the NHL in goals for. But what they are is close to last in the National Hockey League in getting saves, in quality starts, in defensive structure. Their penalty kill, which was really good last year, terrible, 32nd in the National Hockey League. Yikes. Their power play, which was top 10 last year, I think is 23rd in the National Hockey League. So special teams are killing them as well. But Edmonton can't take them lightly. And, Edmonton they've been a streaky team. But what is their record? Is it 14-3 in their last 17? Something like that.
Yeah.
Like
20.
It's impressive what they're doing. And they're getting goals. They're getting contributions from farther down in their lineup. So I think if Edmonton doesn't take them lightly, they can implement and come out with 2 points on Saturday night. But again, you just have to, when you're playing a fragile team that doesn't have the confidence to play 60, you got to find a way within the game to break their will. Yep. And, even watching that game last night, I thought Edmonton was in good shape. Philly gets back into the game. But Edmonton just continues to play, roll over, keep going, get a couple big saves, obviously big goals, and then you just move on to win the game. So Edmonton has to play the full 60, and I think Ottawa, you've got to find a way to break their will because there's times where they're really coming at you like gangbusters, and then there's other times where they're back on their heels, and they do give up a lot of high-quality chances.
Yeah, I think 17 wins for the Oilers in the last 23 as well. So it's streaky, like you mentioned, Noodles. Go ahead.
Noodles, I've been talking about how I looking at the coaching change and like looking at Vancouver, what they did last year with Tocchet, bringing him in at the end of the year, kind of a pre training camp evaluation of the team. Now you have Jacques Martin. Is he the answer, or is he going to be? Do you think moving forward he's going to be the coach of the Sens, or are they evaluating some of the guys looking for jobs right now? Because I think when you look around the league, there's a lot of talented head coaches that are available going into next year. Where do you think the Ottawa Senators land?
I think this is, a full evaluation process. I said this even before things went bad for the Senators to start the season. Michael Andlauer came in, and if there was, we'll call it 10 really heavy moves or big moves to do with this organization. He's at about move 3 right now. It was Pierre Dorian, it's DJ Smith, and then you bring in Dave Poulin. But I think they're in full evaluation mode of the whole organization, taking a look at the on-ice product, the off-ice product. What can we do? The one thing that stood out for me with Michael Landauer and what he said is we want best in class. So, for example, they hire Matt Nickel, who's known as, one of the best trainers, hockey trainers and that. So what they're doing is Dave Poulin is a really smart hockey guy, really well respected within the hockey community. They hire Dave Poulin. So I think what they're doing is they're assessing everything on the fly. So, to your point about Jacques Martin, I think they bring him in because he was already on as a consultant to the coach and kind of associate. He's going to see a firsthand look of what this group is like. So I think there'll be hard decisions moving forward. It's like, okay, we really like this core. Is it a maturation problem? Is it a systematic problem? But if it becomes, hey, we don't think we can win with this core, maybe that's what you start to deal with. So I think it's a full evaluation, and they'll decide at the end of the year if Jacques Martin is the guy at 71 years old to move them forward, or is he going to go back into management and hand the reins to, a new coach where they feel they're going to move forward with. So I think, the jury's still out, but this whole process will be an evaluation process for the next, we'll call it 50 games the rest of the year.
Wow. Jamie McLennan joining us now on the Nielsen Show. Noodles, I want to throw one more at you. Gager and I were talking about goaltending and how guys are just blockers now, and we're talking about Dustin Wolf and the way he moves around as a smaller goalie compared to guys these days. And we also touched on Canada and where things are going in the goaltending position in our country, because after yesterday's game, I'm not blaming Russo at all for that goal, by the way, because that was just a fluky deflection. But what's your sense of where goaltending is right now and where it's going, and is there room for the smaller skilled guy that has the reflexes and anticipation as opposed to the big blocker who just kind of gets in the way? Where are you at with that?
I think there's room for a smaller goaltender, but they have to be ultra skilled. So Wolf is ultra skilled. I think he's a special goaltender. I think he reminds me a lot of UC Saros. And UC Saros is one of the best goalies in the league. But if you look at it, Saros has to be perfect in his game. Where if you're a 6'6" goaltender, you can maybe, cheat to your position a little bit, use your size. You're looking for something. There'll be times where it hits you. Where Saros, with Wolf, even Devon Levi, who's 6 feet tall. I watched him play the other night. He's a good goaltender. I think Levi's got a lot of skill. But in this league, and I think he's learning very quickly, is his positioning got to be perfect, because he doesn't have the luxury of just going down and the puck hitting him because he's 6'6" and he's a big monster in the net. So there is room in this league for smaller goaltenders, but a few of them. You're not going to see. I'm 6 feet tall. Gage, you were way bigger than me. How tall are you?
Oh yeah, I eclipse you. I'm 6'1".
Oh well, there. But I always felt that you were like way taller than me. But gone are the days where it's 5'10", 5'11", 6 feet.
Yeah.
Those guys are going to be the outlier. The average height in the National Hockey League for goaltenders is, we'll call it 6'3", just under 6'3". Mm-hmm. That's the average. Everyone's 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". They're mutants in the net, and they can move.
They are.
Yeah.
They can move. So I look at it, the norm, and I talk to scouts all the time and management. Like, that's one of the things that they look at with goaltending is size, because the game is so fast. The game is played in so tight. Do you have a clean butterfly? Do you have good feet? Do you cover a lot of the net? And the managers just defer. Is like, that guy looks small in the net. So for me, if you're smaller, you better be ultra skilled. And I think Dustin Wolf has a chance to be a special goaltender. I think Levi has a chance to be a special goaltender, but he reminds me a lot of Marc-Andre Fleury when he first got into the league. He's really, really busy in the net. He's active. So he's going to have to figure out maybe less is more sometimes, to slow his game down and hold his feet a little bit more, because he isn't 6'6", and he's not that mutant that'll get hit in the shoulder if he just happens to not see the puck through a screen. So that's the biggest challenge that I see with goaltending and the size. And coming back to, do we need a hockey summit for goaltending? I think we're in a cycle where it's a down cycle. It's not, you're not seeing, 5 or 6 goaltenders that are going to break through from Canada. I still think there's some really good I think Carter Hart's a really good goaltender. I do think there's some good Canadian goaltenders, but it's, Marty Brodeur, Roberto Luongo, Patrick Waugh, it's not, Canada doesn't have the cornerstone on goaltending anymore. If not, it's Russia, it's Finland, it's Sweden, the other countries. But that holds true. And I don't know how you guys feel. Other countries have caught Team Canada, period.
Yes.
The hockey program. And, I know that Team Canada's had its struggles, and they're trying to, optically clean things up and move things along. But what they got to worry about is developing talent. Yes, they, I know people focused on, hey, shower with underwear on and doing all these things that they've had, But what else they have to do is develop talent, because, Team Canada, if you look at the first round of these drafts now, it's USA.
Yep.
It's guys coming from Russia. It's guys coming from Finland, Sweden. So Canada, they're still a superpower in hockey, but so is 5 other countries as well. So I think it's not just goaltending. I think it's from top to bottom. It's developing players and making sure that they're ready at a young age to find the next step, because all these other countries have caught up, and you're not leading anymore. You've got to hold pace with them.
I've worked out in the summer with Noodles out at Perry Pern's 3-on-3, and I can confirm that Noodles is a never nude. So he's.
I wore a wetsuit in the shower because I didn't want to embarrass myself and upset anybody else. So you're right. I'm a never nude guy.
Like Tobias Funke, jean shorts at all times.
I love it. That Struddy, you know what? I just laid right into Jason Strudwick would always say I wore a wetsuit at the beach because I didn't want to upset anybody and have, people, I'd body like a bag of milk. There was nothing wrong with that. I was very happy and jolly. I would kill them with my kindness,
yes,
not with my body. Put it that.
Noodles, I'm so glad your bladder reminded you that you had to hop on with us. This was great, as always. Safe travels, and I hopefully have the chance to catch up with you at the rink on Saturday if you're making your way through here, because I know you guys are on an extended trip.
I will be there. Great to see you guys. Thanks for having me. And yeah, absolutely. We'll see you guys Saturday.
Fantastic. There's JB McLennan. Great stuff from him as always. EST Hockey Insider, JB McLennan, brought to you by Pro-Am Sports, your locally owned sports memorabilia and apparel specialist. Gift cards are available now. They can be used in store or online, and they never expire. Located in Edmonton at St. Albert Trail and 128th Ave. Online at proamsports.ca. Tell them Dusty the Elf sent you, even though the holiday season's over. But just say the EST crew sent you over there, and we've had some good promos with them, especially for the Nasty Club members. There was a 40% off deal on headwear for Oilers hats and caps and toques, I believe, as well. And so if you're a Nasty Club member, we're working with our proud partners and sponsors to get as many cool little incentives as we can. And we did one with Pro-Am, which was great. So a big shout out to Jack and Ken over at Pro-Am. Those guys are great, man. They know their stuff when it comes to the ins and outs of memorabilia, authentic apparel, gear, all that stuff. So go see them at Pro-Am Sports. We're going to get to Guy Flaming right away here and talk about the Oil Kings and the WHL. The trade deadline is coming up, but we need to get to a sports update. This one's a Park Mazda one, right? I'm confirmed. Hey, I remember now. It's not my show. I'm just filling in, but I still remember which liners go where. Let's get to a sports update brought to you by Park Mazda. And I do have and I am saying Mazda deliberately, by the way. I know people wonder that. It's how they say it in the U.S.
Oh, is it?
Here we go. Mazda. Oh. Pasta. Some people say garage. Against. Anyway, sports update brought to you by Park Mazda. Brought to you by the staff at Park Mazda and Mitch Lewicki. He can't make a good soup. He can't do a handstand in a pool. He can't spell the word lieutenant, but he can damn well sell you a car. That is Mitch Lewicki over at Park Mazda. All right, let's get to this sports update. Yesterday, Connor McDavid put together a neat and tidy 5-point night, eclipsing the 900-point milestone in the process as the Oilers won their 6th straight game in a 5-2 victory over Philly. The Flames defeat the Wild 3-1. Winnipeg doubles up Tampa 4-2. The Preds continue to hold down the top wildcard spot in the West with a 3-0 win over the Blackhawks. Arizona, meanwhile, falls 4-1 to Florida, sits 1 point up on the Oilers, and this one's for Jocelyn. The Hurricanes defeat the Rangers 6-1. At the World Juniors, semifinals are set. Canada fell to Czechia as Jakub Stansel's goal with 11 seconds left to break the 2-2 deadlock in the third period with 11 seconds. Canada was eliminated in dramatic fashion. I am not blaming Mathis Rousseau at all. That was a really tough deflection there. The Finns, meanwhile, defeated Slovakia 4-3 in OT. Sweden gets by Switzerland 3-2 in controversial fashion in overtime, while the U.S. took care of business against Latvia 7-2. In the NFL, Carolina Panthers owner David Tepper has been fined $300,000 by the league for throwing a drink on a Jags fan on Sunday. The league called Tepper's action unacceptable as his team was en route to a 26-0 loss to the Jags. Also, the New York Jets and running back Dalvin Cook have agreed to part ways, allowing the 4-time Pro Bowler a chance to sign with the Super Bowl contender. Tonight in the NBA, Raptors begin a 6-game road trip as they head to Memphis to take on the Grizzlies. EST weather today, we'll see mainly cloudy skies with a high of -4, a low of -10 overnight as we enter the dog days of the winter. This sports update brought to you by the good folks and Mitch Lewicki at Park Mazda.
Hi there. If you're like me, you like to picture yourself in luxury, even though there's absolutely no way you could afford it. And if you can, well, even better. Thankfully, I picture myself in something that is luxury, but still absolutely affordable, like the all-new Mazda CX-90 from Park Mazda. With the new luxury features like facial recognition settings and quilted detail Napa leather seating, I can pretend to be comfortable with all of my proper settings activated without even touching a button, thanks to Mitch Lewicki and the great staff at Park Mazda. I like to picture Mitch Lewicki as a ninja fighting off evil samurai.
Park Mazda, your dealer for life in Sherwood Park off Y Road, parkmazda.ca.
Yeah.
But just goes to show you,
Goaltending's voodoo.
it's like he was so good.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a great career. He played a long time.
This is some behind the scenes chatter. Joaquin Gage pumping up Noodles.
Yeah.
What were you saying? It was good stuff.
No, I remember playing against Noodles in the minors and a couple times in the National League. He was just, it's funny how he was such a good goalie. Like, and yeah, he doesn't have the accolades of some other guys, but just it's such a hard league and had a wonderful career. Noodles, he made every dressing room a little bit better, and I alluded to the summer 3-on-3 stuff with Perry Pern, and I would be sitting there laughing at, and I know, watch your toes, I'm name dropping, but him and Jerome Aginla going back and forth and yell at, like, just the subtle little things in the dressing. It was so funny. We were belly laughing. I missed that a lot. That's fun.
And I said to you, was he a first rounder? Back in the day in 91 when he was drafted, he went 48th overall, which would be a second rounder. Yeah. Now, obviously, so back then it was a third rounder. And I said to you, wasn't he supposed to be the Islanders' like goalie of the future? I think Tommy Salo
kind of, yeah. I think he leapfrogged him a little bit there, but I forget what it was, but there was something. He had an ailment. Like he got pretty sick. He got pretty sick, and I forget what he had because he was back down in Worcester, Mass, with the Blues organization. Yes, and then he had to get better, and once he kind of beat whatever he had, he was back up with the Blues for a number of years, I think. So
spent parts of 3 seasons with the Islanders, up and down, like you mentioned. And then ended up with the Blues organization by 95, 96. Yeah. 97, 98, 98, 99, 99, 2000 were with St. Louis. Then he went to Mini for a year, Calgary for 2, 1 with the Rangers, 1 with Florida, 05, 06, and then wrapped things up with the Flames again in 06-07.
Career shortened by a suspension.
Well, I mean, you watch his last ever NHL game, and you're like, ooh, that was bad. He went berserk.
Yeah.
Something must have pissed him off, so clearly. You can watch it on YouTube. Otherwise, he's a lovely gentleman with a kind soul from Edmonton.
Great guy.
Looking forward to catching up with him a little bit on Saturday when the Ottawa Senators come to town. As always, you can text us 780-218-9999. That is the Paris Jewelers inbox, or you can get us at the Nasty Chat on YouTube if you're watching. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Big thank you to our partner at A&W, the Spicy Dill Pickle Buddy Burger, $3.99, and the Spicy Dill Pickle Mama Burger, $5.99 right now at A&W. And let's get to our next guest, his one and only Guy Flabig from the Pipeline Show. That is a friend of EST. You can catch it here on our station. And you can also hear Guy on Oil Kings broadcasts with Andrew Peard. What's up, Guy? How you doing, pal?
Doing well. It's early, man. Holy cow. Do you guys do this often?
No.
No.
This is foreign to us.
Yeah, well, I got the message from Maddie last night, and I was like, 7:40 p.m. or a.m., and yeah, it was a little. But then he told me it was you two, and I thought, all right, I'll make the effort.
Oh, Guy, too kind, buddy. Yes, the 4 a.m. alarm is not pleasant, that's for sure. But you know what? When we get to do this as a job, no complaints. Faux show. All right, Guy. We've got the Oil Kings 12-20-2 on the season. They've won 4 of the last 5, so, putting together a nice little stretch here. They're already better than last year's win total, which is nice, and obviously we expected that. But this most recent stretch here, what has been the catalyst to this hot streak?
I think part of it, and the more impressive part of this, is that they're on the road doing this right now, too. A lengthy road trip, 7 games out to BC, and a dip into the United States to play Everett on New Year's Day. And they're winning on the road, and I don't know if it's just getting out of town. They made a couple of moves, and I don't know if it's just sort of a shock to the dressing room to kind of kickstart this group or not, but whatever it is, it seems to be working. They're getting some guys back from injury, and that's been a huge problem for the Oil Kings this year. At one point, they had 8 starters out of the lineup, and when you're talking 20 guys on the ice, to be almost out of, half of your starting roster, that's a huge hurdle to overcome. And it wasn't just like for 1 or 2 games. It was for 6 weeks.
Yikes.
For a bunch of those guys. A couple of them are done for the year and won't come back still. But they're starting to get healthy, and the trades that they made, I think, are proving to be good ones so far.
Guy, I was going to say to you, what do you think Luke Pearson and Kurt Hill are looking for from their group, the current group, and then obviously there's I'm assuming going to be a trade or two at the deadline or right before it as well. But what do you think they're looking for from this group in the second half of the season?
I think just continued development and growth. I mean, they're 2 years removed, or a year and a half removed, from a WHL championship, and you guys know that junior hockey is cyclical, and that you can't be a contender every year. Certainly, the Oil Kings went from champions to dead last in the league last season. So you got to start making that climb up. And as you pointed out, Tom, they are already better than their record last year. So we're seeing that improvement. Now it's just about continuing to develop. Stay healthy, for God's sake. Let's hope that's the case for this club. But if they can continue improving, I mean, how many again? They've won 12 games so far. If you could win another 12 down the second half of the season, or maybe 15, you can challenge for an 8th seed and maybe a first round meeting in the playoffs. That would be tough. You're probably going up against somebody like Saskatoon, which might be a very short series, but it's a little experience for a young group, and you need that moving forward.
Guy, I had a chance to meet young Blake Fiddler the other day at an Oilers game, and Ladislav Schmid had some quite glowing remarks to say about this kid. How do you see his progression as a young defenseman, and where's his game at right now?
Certainly hard to watch him play and think, oh yeah, he's a 16-year-old.
Yeah,
because he doesn't look like. I mean, he's got size. A lot of kids do these days, but he plays a lot. He's a regular shift guy, and he's put on the ice in all situations. He's getting power play time now as well. But I mean, he's 16, so there are going to be errors, but the coach trusts him, and he's out there in key moments of games. He makes great defensive plays. He skates well. There's lots of upside for a guy like Fiddler. I think, we're seeing him right now as a 16-year-old. A couple of years from now, oh man, this guy could be a star in this league.
Guy, you talk about Fiddler. Who else do Oil Kings fans have a lot to look forward to in terms of players coming down the pipeline, for a lack of a better term? But I know Joe Aginla is another one that people are getting excited about. But who should Oil Kings fans be looking forward to seeing on the ice with the team?
Well, I mean, we can start with Joe Aginla. He's played 2 games. He's got 2 points, including a goal. It was a nice goal on a 2-on-1, and really unfortunate. It sounds like he got dinged up at the Circle K tournament this a week ago. He was, I think, scheduled to be in the lineup even tonight in Kamloops against the Blazers, which obviously with his dad being a former legendary Kamloops Blazer would have been a nice connection. And then they're in Kelowna on Friday, where his older brother plays in Tija Aginla. So that would have been nice, because those two, I just talked to Tija yesterday actually for this week's episode of the Pipeline Show, and said they've never played against or with each other before, so they were really looking forward to that. But it sounds like Joe got a little banged up at the Circle K, so not sure if he's going to be in the lineup on Friday or not. But he's definitely one to watch for. Luke Powell is another guy who's played a couple of games for the Oil Kings this year as an affiliate player. There's lots of talented youngsters coming. They have a defenseman from California that they drafted. His father was actually a football player. I think he's Hawaiian. Noah Tamu is his name. And we're already calling him Hawaiian Punch. He's a defenseman with some size. Love it. And I mean, his dad he's a big football player, so there's going to be some beef on the back end.
I love that. Guy Flaming joining us now, host of the Pipeline Show, and you can catch him on Oil Kings broadcasts as well. All right, as this WHL trade deadline approaches, and you alluded to a couple of moves that have already been made, but I'm assuming Kurt Hill is going to be busy. What type of moves might we anticipate coming towards the deadline here for the Oil Kings? What might they be trying to do as they tinker for this stretch drive, and maybe, like you said, pushing for a playoff spot if they can make that happen? And then probably, I'm assuming, looking at next year having a big impact and making their way up the standings in the WHL East.
Yeah, well, they made a couple of trades already. One sending a couple of players, Wojtek Port and Rylan Kovacevic, to the Moose Jaw Warriors, in which they got a bunch of draft picks, a first and a second and a third-round pick in that deal. And I know that was the thought for the Oil Kings after their championship run, where they did give up a lot to acquire players from around the league like Caden Gooley. I mean, they emptied the cupboards a bit to get those guys. They've been able to recoup some picks already. So they're not a team like Wenatchee, who have basically no picks for the next 3 or 4 years, who are going to have to tear it down. The Oil Kings are okay. So I don't know that they have to sell off a whole lot anymore. They picked up Grayson Sauchin from the Seattle Thunderbirds, second-round pick by the Florida Panthers. He's already been an impact player here for the Oil Kings in the last 3 games. But that came at a cost where they had to give up some picks in that deal. So that, to me, I don't think if you're selling off completely, I don't think you make that move necessarily. So I'm not sure if the Oil Kings are going to trade off a whole lot before the deadline. There might be a little bit of tinkering on the edges, but I don't know if there's a big blockbuster trade coming for Edmonton or not.
Well,
you guys think they are?
Well, I hope not. I remember I'm going back to my junior days, so it's a little foggy, but I remember I was kind of in that zone with the Winterhawks where we were rebuilding, and we got to a point pretty quick where we were quite competitive. And there's always those moves at the trade deadline. But I from all accounts, I like the fact that you're kind of trying to keep the team together as much as possible.
Creating a core?
Yeah, and I mean it's very difficult in junior because the window is so small, right? So getting players in earlier and keeping them, I think it's beneficial, especially when you look at the ages of most of these guys. And I mean, we talk about Fiddler being just a pillar on the back end eventually in the Western League. So there are some pieces in place. I think there's something to keeping that and growing the team together.
Yeah. You get that sense,
Agreed.
Guy, that's what's going on here?
That's what I would like to see them do, is just to have a little bit of continuity from one season to the next. They've traded off. There's been a lot of guys in and out of the roster. I think they had over 40 players play for them at one point last season.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of in and out. So I'd like to see the group more stay together down the stretch here and kind of grow into next season together, if possible.
That would definitely be ideal. All right, there is a game tonight, Oil Kings and Kamloops, like you mentioned. Team that has had its struggles as well this season. What type of game, for those that might watch it or listen to it, should we be anticipating between these clubs tonight?
Could be high scoring. Both these teams are in last place in their respective conferences. Kamloops hosting the Memorial Cup last year, so they loaded up, and they've had a lot of guys move on. So I think it's going to be two teams probably going in opposite directions a bit. I think Kamloops is still a team who might sell off a couple of parts, whereas the Oil Kings are on a bit of a roll here. So I'm looking for Edmonton to continue that trend and go into Kelowna on Friday, maybe riding a bit of a heater, because that's a team who's also turning the corner a bit. So I think it'll be a fun game tonight, but two teams who overall this season have struggled.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing the Oil Kings build on something here. And like we mentioned, already ahead of last year's totals. So that's good to see. Guy, always appreciate it, my friend. Thanks for getting up a little bit earlier today to hop on with us. And we'll talk with you soon.
All right. Anytime, guys.
There's Guy Flaming, host of The Pipeline Show. You can catch that on our Fide station here, friend of EST, and a great broadcaster as well, alongside Andrew Peard on Oil Kings broadcast. So you can catch Guy there too. Wealth of knowledge when it comes to the prospects heading into that next phase of their careers.
I'm excited about Fiddler. Great kid. I talked to him, maybe 5-10 minutes, and
his dad's a character.
Oh
too.
Yeah, but the size of him, I was like,
but Vern's not a big guy.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
He's a monster.
Wow.
At 16, and Laddie was saying he thinks that this guy's going to be like top 5 pick come NHL time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good.
Get down and watch this kid.
And Iginla's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And Iginla.
It's in the DNA.
Yeah. Text come in, says, why do the sound levels go up and down? So I don't know. We're working on that. Is that from? No name on that text. We're working on it, right, Trev?
We're working on it.
Yeah, I don't know. They've been pretty consistent on my end all morning, so I'll keep trying. But I don't know. I thought they were good. We're working on
it. Although that complaint doesn't come in very often, but we're working on that. Thank you for the text. Fergie's Prostate says, geez, Tommy, you did the rewind and the weather. Meanwhile, Gager's sitting there like a spare.
Jeez,
I'm not saying
Fergie.
it. A spare expletive at a wedding. Fergie's Prostate. He's doing great.
I'm window dressing, Fergie. You know that.
He's doing great. This is just his second go at the morning show as a full-on host for the entirety of the show. I loved Red Light District.
Yeah, I missed that. Yeah, that was a good intro. Yeah, especially when I sang it myself because we had technical difficulties for the first time we had it. That was funny.
Oh, yeah.
Rip City Step. America is an elite goaltender producer as well. Can't argue with it, I guess.
Their development model is something I have grown to admire, and that is the U.S. National Development Team program. That is kind of the tip of the spear.
Yeah.
And then even like the USHL Gager has become, it's there with the major junior leagues in Canada, right? Like,
have you talked with Belzy about all this on Hello Hockey a little bit?
We have gotten into some of it. He says the BCHL as an independent league is really starting to emerge. The amount of commitments, they hit a record level of NCAA commits this year.
Yeah.
And them not having to be under the sanctions of Hockey Canada and to be able to pluck players from essentially everywhere has actually benefited them greatly, he says.
Yeah, it's the politics and I've talked to Belzy a little bit of it, and maybe that's they need a summit to organize these things out. Like because if you play in this league, we don't want you in this. This is ridiculous. What all the infighting in Canadian hockey. That's troubling to me. They have to get on the same page here because, like Noodle said, other countries have caught Canada.
They have, and that's good competition-wise. For Canadians, hockey fans here, I think that it hurts a little bit. I'll just say it. Probably
It's a blow to the ego.
A blow to the ego. That's a better way to describe it for sure. And so what do? Cry and pout? Or do you get to work?
Yeah.
Get to work, right?
Exactly.
Like, there's no reason why we can't. And Gager, like, it's not like Canada has fallen off
No.
the top of the mountain. It's getting crowded. And now all of a sudden, instead of worrying about 2 or 3 other countries, maybe it's 4 or 5. And that's fine. Like, we've been talking about for decades. Canada, great that it's at the top of the mountain, but hockey needs to grow. We want to see it grow. Now other countries are catching up. That's great. So what does Canada have to do? Let's get to work.
Yeah. No.
Let's start pumping out good goalies. Let's have a summit. Let's talk about the model that we develop players in. And let's look at other countries and the things that they have incorporated and developed in their systems that work and put them at the top. And you look at the U.S. and Rip City Step saying that the U.S. is a goaltender factory. Yeah. Why can't we do something? Listen, I know that the funding model might be different over there. And
Yeah, definitely.
It's like the elite that play hockey. You don't hear a lot of kids just from the neighborhood that come from middle class. I mean, even less than middle class families making it because there it's travel hockey. Kids are in like 50 different hockey schools a year. I'm exaggerating, obviously, but it's like if you're playing hockey in the U.S., you've got big bucks.
Yeah, no. Like when you hear or going to tournaments like the Brick tournament, talking to parents, even the MAC-T Invitational, hearing what these parents of 9-year-olds are having to commit to financially, it's a pricey paycheck for your kids. Trust me, I know my daughter's in dance, but it would be. I'd like to, because I don't know. Are we missing out on the next Connor McDavid because of funding? That's really unfortunate.
A text comes in to the Paris Jewelers inbox 780-218-9999. Just says Canada's hockey model is rich kids only. It's getting that way though.
Yeah,
too.
I mean you can look at a lot of sports and it's like that too.
The academies now, Gage, are like $60,000 a year.
Oh my gosh! I mean, I shouldn't say because I kind of went to an academy. Notre Dame back then, in outside of Regina, you were either there to play hockey or sent there by a judge. And I checked both boxes, but no, I mean, looking at the price tag of entering your kid into an academy is it's mind-boggling. Like you're going to have to take out double mortgages on your home to fund your kids' minor pro or minor hockey career.
Yeah.
It's too much. Something needs to be done because like I said, I think we could be missing out on the next Connor McDavid or Joaquin Gage at some point.
Well said, Joaquin Gage. Well said. Listen, and in the U.S. you have 350 million people. And there are a lot of people that make a lot of money and can afford to put their kids through all of these hockey schools and in these expensive hockey programs. They have volume. It's a matter of fact. In Canada, we hit 40 million is our population. You have all kinds of new Canadians coming in from all over the world. I don't necessarily think hockey and elite level hockey is the top priority for a lot of them. Even for most families just trying to duke it out, make it work day to day, it's tough. It really is tough. And I've seen a couple of instances that really stand out to me where I was like, oh my God, what is going on with hockey in general and then in our country? In Toronto, which is a crazy that what is it, the GTHL?
Yeah.
I was told by a person I was golfing with, and their son was playing. This guy has bucks. And he goes, well, on my son's team, I thought it was getting ridiculous when one of the dads would set a GoPro up at each end of the rink and then one at the middle of the rink that would follow the shifts. And then he had an iPad hooked up to it. And when the shift was done for every line, he had that whole entire shift cut and sent to the bench, and the coach had it on his iPad. I'm like, how old is your son? He goes, 11. Whoa. And this
awesome.
is 7-8 years ago.
Yeah.
And then the other one I heard was in the Okanagan, 4 families coming together, buying a home, and then one parent would be there, and their duty for a full month was to make sure all 4 kids were at hockey, at school, eating, and had everything taken care of, and they would do a rotation.
Yeah, I know of families that have, just for the Okanagan here, that have billets. Like they've brought kids in and lived at their house so they can go to the Okanagan Hockey School here. So it's it's crazy.
And we don't have 350 million people. We have 40 million. It's just, in terms of volume, we don't have it. It's a matter of fact. A couple of texts coming in. One says, cost of playing hockey today in this country is why people don't play it anywhere near as much. For one kid, upwards of $12,000 between gas, equipment, fees. Yeah, and that's just like house league, right? Or like,
Yeah.
because I remember the fees when I was playing club hockey here. My dad was paying a few grand a month on top of the registration, the membership fee, then all the tournaments, the gas, the gear. And that was 20 years ago.
Yeah, I remember my parents, one of the happiest moments was when I made the Portland Winterhawks, because they didn't have to pay for anything.
They're paying you to be there, right?
They were making money all of a sudden.
Yeah, exactly. Another text from Bonnie Doon. Ron says, school academy is ruining kids. Speaking to teachers that teach, they say the kids are burning out and are quitting because it's a lot from school academy then to their club sport is too much. It's sad to see. Bonnie Doon, Ron, that reminds me too, like I do hockey schools in the summer. I go down to the States, help out my buddy with his schools down there, and the burnout is real. It's real.
Yeah.
9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, they show up to the rink in the middle of the summer, and it's not like I'm excited to see new friends or be at this hockey school, be taught by this pro NHL or this guy. They're lugging the bag on the wheels, and they have a frown on their face at 8 a.m, and it's like, hey, man, what's up? How you doing today? He's like, good. Well, what's wrong? He's like, I'm tired.
Yeah.
How? Why? Well, I had to go to practice after hockey camp yesterday. What? He goes, yeah, I'm on the ice 7 days a week.
I remember just when my kid was playing, and some of these other kids were. He went to, I think, a Golden Bears, like a summer. He wanted to play spring hockey, and seeing all these kids came in. And I was talking to the one kid. And where are you from? And he said some small town. I go, oh, how long does it take you? He goes, oh, it's about 2.5 hour drive. And I'm like, this kid's in the car, like 9 hours or what was it, 11 hours a week coming in just to practice or play a game, and then go play at home too. Like he was.
Wow.
And it's unfortunate because I had one kid on my team that was a really good little hockey player, right? But I don't think his parents could afford playing year round,
right?
But so at the beginning in initiation, and when they're categorizing all the kids, he wasn't skating all summer. He was playing soccer and all this other stuff.
Right.
But a week in, I'm like, oh my gosh, is this kid ever good? Because he doesn't play as much as the other kids, their skill level is really high because they're always on the ice. They're getting better and better. But the fact that this kid should have been playing the top tier but doesn't play all year round, that's what I'm saying. We're missing out on possibly some really, really good hockey players.
Right.
And it's no fault of their own, but kids are just playing longer. They're playing 365, their skill level is really high, and when it comes to evaluating, you're looking at the skill level, and oh my gosh, that kid is amazing, but it's more so the fact that he's been on the ice all year, and then you're missing out on the great athlete kid that, a month in, it would have made the top team.
Right.
So it's too much. It's really too much. I loved playing in the summer. As a young kid, I loved it, but we were just playing games, and it wasn't every day. We weren't
the grind. Wasn't there.
Yeah, there wasn't some guy yelling and telling doing drills. And I see the value in it. Don't get me wrong.
Yep.
But I think the joy, like you said, Tommy, looking at these young kids coming into a rink when it's plus 30
Yes.
in July, that they'd much rather be, outside jumping in the sprinkler. Instead, they're putting on all their gear and going into a cold rink.
To the ones that can do it, good on them, honestly. And to the parents that can make that happen and provide that opportunity, that's fantastic. Not knocking it. It's just, in general, it's become ridiculous in terms of price and the grind and the push. And it, I think it has a lot of detriments as well. That's just my opinion. Obviously, other people feel differently about it, but it's evident, and maybe it ends up being a summit where we reevaluate how we do things in Canada. And then to the academies, the really pricey ones, like that's why you see like Belzy's working with the JPHL. He's a GM and he's a coach there. They're trying to break that model where you're taking out a second mortgage on a home to have your kid play elite hockey. I think they bring the price down and they still provide the elite hockey, and they're trying to shift and change the model. So there's alternatives that are starting to emerge, and one of them is a JPHL.
Yeah.
So,
Kid sport helps out too.
Kid sport, absolutely.
Tom Dixon's mustache says something. This is why they should do spring evals. Teams are set, and then they can go enjoy your summer. I like that. I think there's something to that. There's also, you have to look at kids. There's growth spurts and things like that and stuff. But
That's true. That's true. All right, we're going to reset. We want to get to Kind of Easy Trivia, brought to you by Mr. Mike's Steakhouse Casual. Gager's going to ask the questions. I'll write them up. If you want to play, text us at the Paris Jewelers inbox, 780-218-9999. Just tell Trev you want to play. Trev will pick somebody, and we'll go from there. Maybe even in the nasty chat, if Trev wants to dip into that, let us know you want to play, and he'll pick someone. It works better on the inbox, right?
Yeah, definitely the inbox.
Go to the inbox.
The nicer you are, the higher chance I will pick you.
Tell Trev he doesn't look like Super Mario. He looks like Luigi.
Yeah,
I think
he
prefers that for sure. And also fire up some questions for 3 Questions Too Many. If you have anything for Gager, myself, or Trev, or just in general, let's go. Let's make it a good Wednesday. So Kind of Easy Trivia and 3 Questions Too Many coming up right after this as we reset here on The Nielsen Show.
that's what we should have kept him on.
Hour number 3 of the Nielsen Show here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Tom Gazzola and Joaquin Gage in for Dusty and Lieutenant Eric. Lieutenant Eric, under the weather. Dusty, Big Daddy Davos, is just recouping after getting back from Switzerland and getting a little time with the fam. And so we are guiding you through. Hopefully Eric is good to go for tomorrow. 4 a.m. sucks, but it's good to be with the Nasties. The Nasty chat's been buzzing. The inbox has been going. YouTube Trev, always great to work with him. The 3 of us got to work together yesterday on the pre- and post-game show as well, which was pleasant because the team was playing so well.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
That was a good game. I like that game.
That was a good game. Lots of fun. Get those questions in for Kinda Easy Trivia. Or, pardon me, 3 questions too many. I've got the questions. I fired them over to Gager for Kinda Easy Trivia. $25 to Mr. Mike's Steakhouse Casual. I've got all the liners here. I have the papers that haven't been updated in a while, and then I have Dusty's email. So I'm going back and forth between the two.
You're a professional, Tommy.
That's what they say. I don't believe them, but we're getting through this. We're having fun here on the Nielsen Show. Lots to talk about as well. We do have Greg Wyshynski coming up at 8:20, and we'll go around the National Hockey League with Wish. If you have any questions for him and want his perspective on anything, fire those our way. Paris Jewelers inbox 780-218-9999 or via the Nasty Chat. We're inside the Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen Studios, and let's go to YouTube, Trev. Who do we have on the line ready to play Kinda Easy Trivia?
Today we have Scuba Steve.
Oh,
Scuba Steve. Hello, Scuba Steve. You're very excited about Scuba Steve playing.
I like that name.
He's a nice guy.
It's a cool
have you
name.
met Scuba Steve?
No, I don't think I have.
I met him. He's a great guy. He
Yeah?
popped by not long ago. Yeah.
I don't think I've met Scuba Steve.
We've got a lot of good in the holiday season. The Nasties showed up a lot and just dropped by, said hello, and dropped stuff off, and gave them tours and stuff. Everybody's great.
Yeah.
Everybody's great. Good job. The Nasty Chat's just a name. In name only. Although it can get nasty on the post game, which is fun.
Yeah. Especially when the Oilers go in the tank.
Well, we had some electric post game shows earlier this season. It's been pretty good of late. Anyway, let's get to Kinda Easy Trivia, brought to you by Mr. Mike's Steakhouse Casual, the casualest place ever in the Hampton Inn on the corner of 137th Ave and Mark Messier Trail. The Sirloin Bites to die for. Brand new location now in Fort Sask as well. And you can always get Dusty's favorite, which he grew up on, the classic Mike Burger. Hello. All right, we've got Scuba Steve. What's up, Steve? How you doing, man? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Pretty good fighting the cold, but other than that, I'm okay.
Oh, is it as nasty as what Belzy had, what Gager had, what Cass is dealing with, and Eric is dealing with, or where is it okay?
It's pretty nasty, this one, but I'm on the tail end of it, I think.
Okay, good. I'm happy to hear that. Let's juice things up, make things better for you with a $25 GC to Mr. Mike's. You ready to do this thing?
Right on. Yep.
All right. Gager, you fire away when you're ready. Scuba
Yeah.
Steve, here you go.
I would start the ticker, but we don't have one. Steve, who did the Oilers beat last night?
Philadelphia.
Did Connor McDavid get his 900th point yesterday?
Yes, he did.
I don't know what it is. True or false? The Oilers play the Flames this Saturday.
False.
Has Canada been eliminated from the World Juniors?
Unfortunately, yes.
Do the Oil Kings take on the Kamloops Blazers tonight?
I believe so.
Oh, hit the music. Hit the music.
Oh,
hit the
hit the
music.
He's got music.
It's got music. Wait.
I just knew Dusty grew up on it. All right, well, at least we had some kind of music
There
to
we go.
play there.
There we go.
Congrats, Scuba Steve. I think we have your contact info. You know the routine, pal, and you picked up a $25 GC to Mr. Mike's. What was that word?
Why did my tongue grew 20 sizes too big there?
Trev
with
is
that?
laughing.
I don't know. That was
Yes,
awesome.
sir, blood.
Let's clip that.
No, let's not. I've had many of those flubs just today. So good job, Gager, as we roll through another edition of the Nielsen Show. 3 questions too many, brought to you by the good folks at Park Mazda and the great staff there, where the staff are more open than the jar of peanut butter on Mitch Lewicki's desk. I'll just leave that there.
Wow. How is Mitch doing? You talked to Mitch lately?
I don't know Mitch personally.
I've only met him once, and I've said this before. I was blown away at his youth. He's quite young.
Is he really?
Yeah, he looked young to me.
Or he's just like
Or well kept.
Withstood the test of time.
No, I think he's just young. But good for him. I like I was gonna go test drive a Mazda a year ago. He was very accommodating. It was great what he was gonna do. But turns out we were all right. I was worried about my wife's car for a bit there. I'm not like Dusty, just letting his wife drive the jalopy for too long.
Jalopy. All right. Get those questions in for 3 questions too many, brought to you by the good folks at Park Mazda. Here we go. This one's from the coach. For 3 questions too many, with the Leafs here soon, here's my question. If the Leafs and Oilers made a trade with each other, who gets both teams to the final? That's from the coach.
Each other. Oof.
I don't know if there's a trade between the two.
Samsonov and Jack Campbell, right?
Duh.
That'll put each other over the top. Gosh. I mean, this is completely hypothetical because I don't think any of them, either team can do anything with their cap issues, right? Like it's, God, who would I like to see as a Leaf? You go back to the last best on best with the young guns and seeing Austin and Connor together.
Yep.
And that was very enjoyable to watch. So I guess in an alternate universe, to see those two play together might be something to behold. But yeah, to get both teams to the final,
I don't think it's possible.
I don't think
between these two clubs
does automatically. If you could add, or just look at Nylander. If you add Nylander to the Oilers, does that get them automatically to the final?
But he's not a bottom 6 guy. He's not a third line center.
Yeah, no, I
don't know.
Johnny T on the third line.
That would be great.
I think,
super expensive.
Yeah, a little too pricey, but that solves your third line center woes.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah, I'd go with Pajama John.
Okay. Question number 2 for you, Gager. If you were the GM of Canada at the upcoming Olympics, because whatever we're gonna see from the World Cup, it sounds like it's gonna be a bit quirky again. Hopefully I'm wrong, but it sounds like it. But if you were the GM of Team Canada going into the Olympics for the men's side in 2026, who would your starting goalie be, and who would your 2 backups be?
I think I go Hart.
Number 1?
Yeah.
Damn.
Because you need to pass the torch at some point to take that mantle. Like you saw it happen before. You saw Wah with Cujo, Brodeur, Luongo, right? The young guy kind of took over. I think you start with Hart. I think you still bring Fleury in there, just a guy that's
interesting.
And then I go with our local guy. I go with Skinner. Those
Stewie
3.
Skinner.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like that. All right, question number 3 for 3 questions too many, not kind of easy trivia. If Joaquin Gage did not become a pro netminder in the National Hockey League and among pro leagues in Europe, what sport would he have excelled at and become a professional in?
Gosh, I don't.
Like, you wouldn't be a middle relief pitcher for 25 years, making $3 million and nobody knowing who you are?
I was a good football player.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You've got the size.
Yeah, no, I won a provincial championship in Saskatchewan with the Notre Dame Hounds. So maybe. I kind of had I got a letter from North Dakota to go to their summer football camp.
Really?
In high school too. So but it was Division III, and of course
whatever.
But yeah, there was something there. I was actually told by Martin Kenny, who is Jason Kenny's father, who was the chancellor at Notre Dame at the time. He brought me in, and what had one of the worst things you can say to a young kid. He told me I'd never make a dime playing hockey, and to focus on football. And I remember leaving his office like in tears, crying because he told me to quit playing hockey. You're not going to do it. He went through this whole like formula of how I would never make a dime playing hockey.
You made more than a dime. You made lots of dimes.
Oh yeah, there was lots of dimes. They're all gone, but there were dimes.
Oh man, YouTube Trev, any sport that if it wasn't like I know you love hockey, but if you could be a pro in any sport, what would it be?
I always had the most fun. Like, I quit playing hockey my Pee-wee second year, so then I focused on soccer. I tried out for the college soccer team, and they wanted me. They actually, but it was kind of like Dusty. We were actually talking about this. Dusty tried out for the basketball team for the Kodiaks, and just that program, it's just so much. So unfortunately, I didn't play for the Kodiaks, but it would have been soccer for sure. I was always way better at soccer than any other sport, so that would have been really cool. But I don't really watch soccer. I liked playing it. So
There's a lot of money to be made in soccer.
Yep.
What about you, Tommy?
I always I love making that middle relief pitcher joke, but you think about it and you're like, okay, so who's this guy coming in this, Padres Giants game that I'm watching for some reason? And you're watching the broadcast and they go, so-and-so's been in the league since 1999. He got into the league when he was 21 years old and still throwing. He plays, every fourth day. He's making $4.8 million and has been for a decade and a half. And then he goes in and he makes, faces two batters and then comes out and you're like, I would love to be a middle relief pitcher in Major League Baseball because of how easy it is. And you get all the luxuries of being an MLB player. You make a hell of a lot of money for not a lot of work. I think that would be the cushiest spot in pro sports, North American pro sports. Also bench player in the NBA. Seriously, if you were just in it for the lifestyle, and you don't care about the accolades or being a superstar in front of the cameras all the time, bench player in the NBA or middle relief pitcher, because you're living good for the rest of your life.
I would have loved to have been a professional tennis player. Top 10.
That's a phenomenal sport.
Yeah.
I have a ton of time for tennis players. Although we've got a lot of texts that have come in about how expensive hockey has become, which is totally true.
Tennis
is creme de la creme. You need to be nose up. Did you go to the match today at the club? No, I didn't make it.
No.
I was working. That's too bad.
Yeah, that's
they had a great
elitist.
foie gras out there today as a snack. A petit déjeuner.
Little lunch.
That's right. That is exactly what it means. All right, 780-218-9999 as we cruise along in hour number 3 of the Nielsen Show. Tom Gazzola, Joaquin Gage with you alongside YouTube. Trev, Nasty Chat. Let's take a look at what's going on there. We do have Greg Wyshynski coming up in a couple of minutes. We'll catch up with Greg. Dell says Gazzy is Italian soccer. I played a little bit of soccer. I played high school soccer.
Did you?
Yeah. I was bored. So I played not particularly well, but we had a good team. I think we had Lee Jubenville, who was a great hockey player. He was up for the Hobie Baker one year playing for Princeton. Played for Southside Athletic Club. I think he led the AJHL in scoring with Camrose back in the day. And we also, on this Austin O'Brien soccer team, we had Dan Waschuk, who was the captain of the Regina Pats briefly.
Okay.
And I think he got traded to Saskatoon in his 20-year-old year or 19-year-old year. We had some good athletes at AOB.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah. Actually, the 20-year-old situation. Usually at the deadline, one of those guys get moved to. Yeah. So,
what was deadline day or the deadline time like as a junior hockey player? Because it's got to be different than when you're a pro or even obviously in the NHL.
Well, it's completely different now because these guys have these, right? And they can monitor. They know right away. We wouldn't. There was no way of us knowing any trades happened until, especially being in the States. You're not going to hear about a WHL trade on the Portland sports radio talk, right? So, completely different now. I'm sure they players are looking at it a lot more,
right?
But I don't think that in my day it wasn't that big a deal. I can't remember if there was a couple trades, but they usually didn't happen in season like that. Or you'd get the 20-year-old moving on,
right?
Either at the beginning of the year because to make room, or there was an overload because you only had 3 on your team, or at the trade deadline, depending on where you were as an organization. Like Guy had said, the transition years, trying to get back to those competing for championships, but there's some thin years. There's like I remember my last year as a 20-year-old, I went to Prince Albert, and there were a bunch of 17, 16-year-olds on the team, right? We couldn't compete.
Were you guys out in an island in the U.S. division in the WHL? Because, like you said, you're not hearing about everything, and nobody's filling you guys in on stuff.
Portland's a great sports town, so
I agree.
It's unreal. And we had Seattle that was close, right? Tacoma was there, so it was. You kept you understood some stuff. That was the old days of the hockey news, though. You would just wait to go buy the hockey news and read everything.
Yeah. No, I remember the hockey news. All right, speaking of the hockey news, let's get to a guy that reports on it, breaks it, and is a lot of fun to catch up with. It is senior NHL writer at ESPN, the one and only Greg Wyshynski. He's ready to rock and roll. Greg, Happy New Year, my friend. Great to catch up with you. And let's start with the Winter Classic, the New Year's tradition in the National Hockey League. It seemed like it was a success on Monday in Seattle. What did you make of the event and the spectacle and the hoopla surrounding it from what you saw?
It felt more stadium series than Winter Classic, which again sounds like an insult. And I guess in the grand scheme of things, it might be. But I mean, it's not to say this isn't to say that it was the matchup. Vegas and Seattle is an interesting little matchup between the two most recent expansion teams. I've been a fan of non-traditional matchups in the Winter Classic before. My favorite classic in recent years is probably the Cotton Bowl with the Predators and the Stars. I thought that was an awesome event. But the Cotton Bowl was an interesting venue, and Fenway Park's an interesting venue, and T-Mobile Park, home of the Seattle Mariners, is not. I mean, it's like a newer stadium. It's just like I think what I learned about the Winter Classic personally this year is it really does come down to venue, even more so than matchup, even more so than anything else. It really does come down to that fundamental thing that all got us into outdoor games to begin with, which is hockey in a really unusual place.
Yeah.
And putting it in a cookie cutter new baseball stadium is not an unusual thing. So again, like it's fun, and I've said this for years that these outdoor games may not necessarily translate on television like they used to, but if you're on site for them, if you're in the building for them, if you're in the parking lot tailgating for them, and in the store buying gear for your kids at these games, they're still awesome. It still is, much like the NHL All-Star Game, an event that if you're in attendance for it, it really does feel like it's something special, even if maybe it doesn't feel the same way on TV anymore.
Yeah, that's true. And we had the Heritage Classic here. It was a great day. It was a good event, 20-year celebration of the first one back in 2003. But someone texted in yesterday on the show, and they're like, can you explain the differences between these games and why they keep doing them? HRR, Greg. HRR, that's why. Am I wrong in saying that?
You're not completely wrong. I mean, they are ATMs for this league, basically, with the amount of sponsorship money and TV money and then of course the amount of money that they earn on the gear they sell at these things, which is palpable. I mean, everybody who goes to these events wants a piece of the event, and you're talking about 40,000 people, so it's a good amount of money. And the jersey designs are usually pretty cool, and you still see them at games, during the season. So, yeah, it's a lot of money being generated. It's a lot of HRR, but it's also like a way to kind of put hockey over in the regular season. There's been so much discussion about what the NBA did with its in-season tournament, and how do you make the regular season more interesting? And like doing that for the NHL probably is a non-starter, but these are things, these stadium series games, these Winter Classics, things like that help make the regular season feel more special. It helps bring attention to the regular season in ways that there isn't normally attention. So there are definitely reasons to do it. Now, that being said, I am pretty interested in what the future of the Winter Classic looks like because I don't know if you guys know, but here in the States, they're changing the college football playoff system a little bit.
Right.
And it's going to be really interesting to see what ends up happening with the Classic as a January 1st event when the new college football playoff system comes into play. I mean, they they've put it up against college football bowl games before, but if it's a playoff bowl game, maybe that changes the map. And the ratings down here haven't come out yet for what Alabama, Michigan drew versus the Winter Classic. Winter Classic being on cable, Alabama, Michigan on cable too, but obviously a very high profile event. So I'll be interested to see what that looks like. That might be a preview of things to come for the Winter Classic when it's up against a massive, important college football game.
Greg, I was leaving Rogers Place last night to head to do the post-game show, and one of the security guards at Rogers Place, older guy, goes, "Hey, Tom, did you see what happened in the Sugar Bowl and the Rose Bowl?" I was like, well, I watched the Sugar Bowl, and I saw the highlights from the Rose Bowl, and this guy was pumped. He's like, "The big game is next week. The big game is next week. You're going to watch it?" I'm like, yes, I'm going to watch it. So it's got a lot of steam in these college football playoffs, and yeah, I guess it's going to be interesting to see what happens and what the NHL does. Now, on the broadcast, Greg, at the intermission, Gary Bettman, he hopped on with the panel, and he says to expect an announcement regarding a best-on-best tournament. I know we've been speculating about a World Cup coming up. What do you expect from this next iteration of the World Cup, and do you think it's going to feature some kind of quirky elements to it?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've reported before what it's going to be, which is a USA-Canada matchup and then a Finland-Sweden matchup overseas. And then the winners of those two little matchups will face off for the Challenge Cup or something. It ain't going to be a World Cup. They're smarter than that. They're smart to know that if you try to sell it as a World Cup and you don't have all the nations involved and you don't have some semblance of a Russian team involved, it's going to feel inferior. And I don't think that they necessarily want to water down that product. Like, the whole point of the World Cup is to be a rival to the Olympics. Well, the Olympics are going to have some kind of Russian team in it. If you try to do that, your own version of it, and you don't make it a complete world best-on-best tournament, then it's just going to feel inferior. So they'll come up with something different as a temporary fix. And, I know there's been a lot of sort of, downplaying of it, some skeptics about the format and, why stop the season for something like this. I think that's going to go away real quick. The first time they see McDavid skating with Crosby, the first time they see, the Hughes brothers all on the same team, or Austin Matthews representing his country. Like, there's a lot of cynicism that has a funny way of dissipating when, nationalism and patriotism come into play on the world sports stage, and I think that's what's going to happen in 2025 when this tournament happens. It's going to be a different tournament, but I think a real fun tournament.
Hey, Greg, I had a quick question for you. We were talking earlier on our show about the current state of Canada hockey and the current job of what the U.S. is doing, producing top level talent. You mentioned the Hughes brothers that are just phenomenal. Quite a position the U.S. is in to win one of these tournaments. Why, in your mind, has the U.S. done such a, arguably say, better job than Canada at producing all this young talent?
Well, first of all, it warms my heart to see the messages coming out of Canada in the last 24 hours about how they're just kids. They had to miss Christmas. We should all remember that, when they lose in World Juniors, they're these sweet little babies. That's all they are. We have to remember that when they lose in World Juniors. It's my favorite. It's my favorite thing when you guys don't win a tournament to see those tweets come out. And there's like a few of them already. Yeah. No, man. Like I've said for years, that the thing that held USA hockey back was a few things. One was mindset, which is that when the Miracle on Ice was the best and worst thing to ever happen to USA hockey. It's the best because it gave us one of the greatest sports moments in the history of the world. It was the worst in the sense that USA hockey felt like they had to build these blue-collar teams that overcame the odds and were scrappy underdogs, and sometimes it was at the cost of leaving really good skill position players at home. The teams that Canada beat in 2010 and 2014 were very much in that mindset. Mm-hmm. So, they've changed the mindset a little bit, and part of the reason they've been able to is because now they have high-end talent. Now they've got Austin Matthews, the Hugheses, the Eichel, the list goes on and on. And a lot of that is, we could be here for an hour, but, the spread of expansion of the USA to different markets that were non-traditional, eventually leads to kids from those markets coming up and playing hockey. The Hughes brothers grew up in Florida. You know, you look on their hockey reference page, it says Orlando. I mean, that's amazing. You know, Austin Matthews coming from the desert. So, like, now you're starting to see these seeds that were planted 25, 30 years ago blossom into hockey talent, and more kids, you know, have the chance to play hockey and get into hockey. And I've long said, going back to the days when, you know, me and Jeff Merrick were doing the show together, like, very early on, you know, if the best athletes in the U.S. decided they all wanted to play hockey, the U.S. would never lose another tournament. Like,
that's fair.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
It's always been a numbers game for us, and now the numbers game is catching up, and that's one of the reasons why. But I mean, listen, if they win in 2026 at the Olympics, it's not just because they have some high-end talent that can finally match Canada. It's because they have goaltending, and that is the biggest point of demarcation between the U.S. and Canada right now, which is that the U.S. has, like, all the goalies, and Canada has, you know, Jordan Binnington right now. So that's kind of like the difference between the two nations at this point.
Hey, you leave our sweet little babies alone, okay?
It's great. I mean, like, the two reactions to World Juniors that I will always cherish. One is these sweet kids, you know, there's too much pressure on them. They had to miss Christmas, and that's all been said in the last 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
The thing they haven't done yet, the Canadians haven't done yet, is we need a nationwide symposium on goaltending, which happens sometimes when it's the goaltending that falters. But the problem is that you guys got beat on a bad bounce yesterday.
Yes.
So, like, you can't blame the goalie on that. So they might have to cancel that committee.
Well, we did.
We already talked about it, Greg. we got the ball rolling on it earlier on the show, I think in the 6 o'clock hour.
Yeah.
So we're all good.
We're all over it.
Hey, I was reading your article on just the midway point with your predicted trophy winners. I've always kind of looking at this year and seeing the play of Quinn Hughes, one of the Hughes brothers. I really like that you have him as a finalist. What do you think it would take for him to win the Hart? Because I think he is one of the front runners this year.
He is, and the way that we work the Awards Watch, which published yesterday on ESPN.com, is that we get, you know, a bunch of actual voters to share their ballots. So the things that you see on that site aren't my predictions or aren't spit out from a computer. They're what the actual voters are thinking for these awards. And so, you know, Quinn Hughes, in their minds, is in the top 3 for the Hart right now, and rightfully so with the way that he's played, the amount of minutes that he's played, the important minutes that he's played for Vancouver. We haven't had a defenseman win the Hart since Chris Pronger in 2000. So if you're asking, like, what could put him over the top, it could just be, hey, we're due for another defenseman to win this award. And sometimes that's just all the voters need as a carrot in front of them, is the idea of trying to make history with their vote, and, you know, giving it to a defenseman for the first time. And, you know, like 24 years at that point would be something that I think would be compelling. But what he really needs, I think, to win MVP is for a couple of the forwards to cancel themselves out. So if you're looking at it, maybe Panarin and Pasternak cancel each other out. Maybe McKinnon and McDavid end up canceling each other out. I mean, these are the things that have to kind of happen, I think, for him to split the difference. And the best thing that's happened for his candidacy, to be honest with you, is McKinnon, because there was a while where people were like, okay, so who's going to be our MVP of this guy? Is it going to be Quinn Hughes or is it going to be Cale Makar? Mm-hmm. And as long as McKinnon is doing what McKinnon's doing, no one's voting for Makar for MVP. So I think that's actually been one of the more beneficial things to Quinn's candidacy recently, is the fact that McKinnon is now head and shoulders above everybody else on his team as far as being an MVP candidate.
Greg Wyshynski joining us now, ESPN senior hockey writer, as we cruise along on the Nielsen Show. Gazzola in for Dusty, and you got Joaquin Gage in for Lieutenant Eric. YouTube Trev holding things down for us here at EST. Greg, I want to throw this one at you, because when I saw how it was playing out, I was like, I think Wyshynski would have a good opinion on this little ditty of a situation. So Ryan Hartman gets fined for high sticking Cole Perfetti, okay? He admits to Perfetti on the ice. He's like, I've got to do it to get payback for the cross-checks on Kaprizov the night before. No penalty on the play. Then the fine comes, and then the Perfetti says it in his postgame. He's like, I was mic'd up. We've got all of this on camera. We have the audio. We have the video of him telling me he's going to get me back. Sorry, kid. No hard feelings. And the league, I guess the rule is the league can't act on what video and audio was produced by the Jets. I'm like, this is what a little conundrum that they've backed themselves into, not assuming that they'd run into this situation. What do you make of all of this, Greg, and how bad does it look?
So there's two separate things going on here. First is the mic'd up part of it, and the second is a player admitting that he tried to intentionally injure a guy basically for revenge.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's park that one for a second and get the audio visual part of it done first. I got no problem with the idea that you can't use that stuff that's on mic.
Right.
And the reason I don't have a problem with it is because it was collectively bargained. And,
Yes.
part of the trade-offs, if you want to have guys wearing mics and if you want to have that kind of access during the game, is that there are certain things that we don't get to hear. You don't get to hear the real stuff said between the benches. We all know that, right?
Yeah.
And there's a reason for it, which is that they don't want to embarrass the players or incriminate the players. And part of that is the agreement with the players is that we are going to put mics on you, but we're not going to use the stuff that you say to necessarily make you look bad.
Right.
And that goes all the way back to those 24/7 shows, the Winter Classic that used to be on HBO. Like, I know for a fact there are things that players have said on those shows that were edited out before the shows went on because the teams and the players wanted them out. So even there, you're seeing a sanitized version. Mm-hmm. And the idea that those things can't be used in like a suspension hearing is fine by me because both the victim and the assailant have agreed, okay, that's off the board.
Yep.
Collectively bargained. It's a dead issue. If you want to argue it, then that's fine because once again, it's the NHLPA kind of screwing themselves because the guys who get hurt don't have the chance to use that to go up against the guys that hurt them. It's very reminiscent of we're going to cap fines at a certain amount of money because that's just how it's going to be, which is insane, but that's how they operate over at the PA. Now, the second thing is this whole thing of intent to injure. One of the things I've learned in the last 24 hours since the Hartman thing happened is the NHL can go back and suspend a guy after fining him. If new stuff comes to light and they wanted to go and say, all right, we fined Hartman, but now Perfetti's saying, well, it was intentional, and we want to suspend him. They can do that. They have the power at the Department of Player Safety to do that. The fact that they haven't kind of tells you how they feel about this play, and they feel about it being, something off of face-off, something retaliatory, but not necessarily something that rises to the level of a suspension. Even if you have Perfetti going and saying, well, this guy tried to hurt me for the reasons that he stated. So they see the play as they see it. They think it's a fine and not a suspension. But I did learn that they can revisit it if it's all of a sudden something coming. Like for example, if we had a bounty situation, right? And it's a guy gets fined and then you find out that there's some, Sean Payton-esque bounty situation happening. Then they can go back and suspend, right? But in this case, they didn't feel like it rose to the level of having to revisit it.
Is paying $300,000 in a fine for throwing a drink on a fan worth it?
I mean, I guess it depends on the fan. Would be my answer to that.
He deserved it. I thought, anyway, I was dipping into the NFL there. Greg, so good to catch up with you, and look forward to maybe catching up with you again, hopefully soon. Thanks for the time, as always, my friend.
Yeah. Anytime. Thanks for having me.
That's ESPN senior hockey writer Greg Wyshynski for Metal Supermarkets, the convenience stores for metal.
Sounds like the Americans are really pumped about this world best on best tournament. They look good. When you, I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, I want to see McDavid with Crosby, but I feel like with how kitschy it's gonna be, it's just it's not the real thing.
Yeah, well, no, it's not, but it gives us a glimpse, I think.
Yeah.
Hopefully they get back into the same kind of thing at the Olympics where you have best on best again.
Will Sidney Crosby be there in 2026?
Look how he's playing now.
Then yes.
Yeah.
Then
That's 3. I don't know. That we talked about with Ovechkin, time does catch you.
Yeah.
It's running fast right now. But I mean, how many is that? 19 straight 20-goal seasons. What is it with like it's ridiculous.
It's phenomenal is what it is.
Yeah, he's
ageless
awesome.
wonder.
Just awesome.
Yeah. 780-218-9999 as we get into the wrap, brought to you by William Huff to wrap up what's been a fun Wednesday edition of the Nielsen Show, Gazzola and Gage. The wrap for William Huff. Visit WilliamHuff.com. Wrapping the city since 1972. Make your place look as good as ours with Bruce and the team at William Huff. And, hey, Trav, have you been keeping tabs, too, on maybe text of the day for A&W? Get a GC there. We'll pluck one out of there.
I can, I'll snag one
See
right
if
now.
you can snag one. But, Gager, I mean, it's been a fun show. You and Noodles waxed poetic about the world of goaltending. We complained about Canada and its hockey development system. Caught up about on the Oil Kings with Guy Flaming. What else that stood out to you on today's show?
Well, we didn't talk about the Oilers' win last night that much. That was probably.
Do you want to talk about it, Ray Meow?
Yeah, sure. But,
tell us what you think. We did talk about it a bit.
A bit. Again, the way that they're winning and being able to withstand pushes from other teams, right?
Yep.
And look no further than what McDavid did last night. And I love the comment. I actually went back and watched I wanted to see what Stoff said. I couldn't find anything, what he said.
Yeah.
But, it was more my old coach who would have loved to play me, but he just couldn't fit me in. Mac T, when he just said McDavid making plays that no one else on the planet can make, and some of the passes that he made, and even that goal, like to turn the 2-on-2 into a breakaway, essentially, like it's crazy.
How much help did he get from Hyman?
A little. He reminded me of a young Dale Hawerchuk hooking a Russian defenseman on the back check. A little bit.
Just a little bit of help.
But hey, not cheating, not trying.
That's right.
No, it's. And then I'm reading this text. There's no name on this text, but he also read the Greg Wyshynski article and said, how the hell is McDavid not mentioned in an award? Well, you just got to look at the start of the season, I think, right? I think quiet. By the end of the season, of course, Connor's name is going to be mentioned in some shape or fashion, especially if the Oilers can claw their way back into a playoff spot like they seem to be doing, only 1 point out now. You have to look at the year Taylor Hall had in New Jersey, basically pulling the New Jersey Devils into a playoff spot. So.
Yeah. McDavid with that 5-point performance, third in the league in scoring now.
Yeah.
He jumped over like 6 guys yesterday. It's just insane. And yeah, he was dinged up really early in the year, we thought it was an oblique, hampered him for a while, just didn't look the same, didn't have that turbo boost. Yesterday, the way he was dipsying and doodling and the stops and the starts and the spins and the loop-de-loops, it was just a thing of beauty. And then I don't know which pass I think that the pass to Nugent Hopkins on his first goal, it was just a little touch, but I thought that was a thing of brilliance. Like just the Hyman feeds it out to him, and then the quick little over Nugent Hopkins has an empty net. Even the one to Hyman where he's going into the corner with 2 guys hounding him, and the backhander to Hyman and then the dip move.
It tape to tape, and Hyman hitting Hyman essentially in stride, right? That's hard enough to do standing still with no one on you,
right?
From that distance,
right?
And I love what Hyman said too afterwards. He goes, "Were you surprised?" And he goes, "No." When you're playing with someone with that skill level, and you know what he's capable of, you're almost, if I go here, he'll probably get me the puck, and that's just a sign of some guys that are playing with each other that have some really, really good chemistry.
6 in a row for the Oilers. They get the Ottawa Senators on Saturday. You heard Noodles earlier. If you didn't catch him, Jamie McLennan joined us at around 7 o'clock. And this Sens team is just in a world of hurt right now. What did Jamie say? The thing that stood out to me from Jamie was in a situation where Michael Andlauer, who just took over the team, has 10 key moves to make. He's only on move number 3 in the middle of a season. They've already removed the GM from his role. They've just fired their head coach. They put in an interim guy in Jacques Martin, who was a consultant, and then they shuffled up the front office. Steve Staios made himself the GM, Brought in Dave Poulin from TSN, who was, a great analyst, obviously, knows hockey inside out, was a great player for a long time in the National Hockey League. Now he goes to the front office side of things with the Sens. It's there for the Oilers to make it 7 in a row.
Yeah. And the full forensic audit, the Bobby Nix forensic audit of the team going on in Ottawa halfway through the season. That's like Noodles said, you say it often, but don't give them a reason, right? Take their will away because they are dangerous. If they feel like they can do something, they with the young talent on that team, they can do some dangerous things. But yeah, wheels have fallen off the Ottawa Senators this year, which is disappointing. I like the look of that team. I like watching Tkachuk play. The Sanderson. They have some
good pieces.
Greg. They just have some Giroux's solid NHL players. They have so many good. Batherson. There's good players on that team. It's really puzzling.
Okay, I'm going to name a couple of teams out east. You tell me which one's the biggest disappointment: the Sens, the Sabres, or the Devils.
I would say the Sens, just because I felt that they were in a position to. I thought they would do something this year and not be the team of the past 3 years. Mm-hmm. They have I thought goaltending was going to solidify. I like to see Canadian teams battle in the standings and get into the playoffs. I think it's more enjoyable to watch come springtime with more Canadian teams having a chance to raise the chalice.
Jeremy says, I thought the Sens were the next great team. People have been telling me that for 2 years.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, not going to happen. There's one from Jimmy in the nasty chat says, Crosby will hold McDavid back. McDavid needs Bedard.
Really?
Are you sure?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Those are two pretty good hockey minds on the ice at the same time.
Yeah.
That's
D. White says the Oilers played 2 playoff teams in January. Is it crazy for me to think they will go 10-2 this month?
I don't think so.
No,
not. They don't look like. I hate the games that get out of reach early. But even the game, the San Jose and the Anaheim game, they kept their foot on the pedal. They didn't sit back, and I like that. I hated those games where you got those four goal leads like halfway through the second period, where maybe some inefficiencies in your system start to creep in. Because it's such a you don't want to try too hard, but you can't. You're in limbo there, and they've played the exact same way throughout, and I like that.
Bones texts in via the Paris Jewelers inbox, says, new coach bump, not in Ottawa, new coach slump. But he's not even a new coach. I mean, he coached them, in the early 2000s?
Yeah. And he's been on the bench for a while.
Yeah.
Too, so it's not a fresh guy coming in, which I do think is a mistake.
They're doing it so weird in Ottawa, it feels like, but...
Well, maybe with this 10-step program that they got going, it's just
10 hires, according to Noodles. How do you think Noodles is handling covering that team day-to-day? Because you're attached to them as the broadcaster. He does color commentary for the Sens regional broadcast, so he'd be like their Louis.
Yeah.
Except it's on TSN instead of Sportsnet. You are there with them every day. I've been there. I've experienced it.
It sucks.
It sucks when the team sucks. You're like, ugh, the vibe on the plane's going to be brutal. Everybody's miserable. What do you do? Well, you go and blow off steam on your own kind of thing.
I've talked to Louis about, when the Oilers were just trying to find, because you don't want to be negative all the time. Too.
No.
You want to find the positive, which I think Louis does better than anyone in the league as an analyst. He's absolutely spot on every single game. But yeah, it wears on you too. Like that negativity.
Yep.
Plane rides home after a loss and on a losing streak. They are one of the saddest. I mean, I know you're on a charter and whatever, but it's one of the saddest, nicest places on earth.
You don't want to talk to anybody.
You don't want to see a coach talk. You don't want to see it like you don't. you don't want to laugh.
No.
You don't want to hear anyone having a good time or anything like that. It's just miserable.
You know what was fun? Especially when I wasn't involved in these, because I would just stay out of them and be like, where the hell am I? The media bus. And some of the arguments that would happen.
Really?
And oh, yeah.
Write a book, Tommy.
Oh, there will be a book. There will be a book one day. I just remember guys would clash, and I'd be sitting there and be like, oh, my God, I'm listening to so-and-so who I grew up watching and listening to yell at so-and-so who I grew up reading and getting to know, and like, this is insane. Or you get someone that comes from another market, and it's just like people getting in each other's faces, and PR guys trying to get involved, and you're just like, where the hell am I? And a lot of it comes from the results on the ice.
Yeah.
And it'd be crazy. You'd be in Denver, let's say. It's a 40-minute bus ride from the Pepsi Ball Arena now to that airport. You think the drive from the airport here to the city was long or is long? It's not anymore because the city's expanded so much. But the one in Denver is like legit like a 40-minute hike.
Yeah.
And there would be some battles. And you're like, I don't want this bus ride to end as long as somebody doesn't ask me for my opinion.
I remember Ulanov could drink 6 beers on that trip, though. He could easily.
I heard that guy was a machine.
Oh, it was great.
A machine. Yeah. So anyway, it'll be interesting. I look forward to seeing Noodles this Saturday when the Oilers take on the Senators. Day off for the Oil today after that win. I'm sure they got the green light last night. Probably enjoyed the spoils of victory, as one tends to do. 6 straight wins for the Oilers. Things are moving along nicely. YouTube Trev, anything in terms of text of the day? Did you find anything, or did you just want to get in with some thoughts before we wrap up here?
Yeah, text of the day. Not gonna lie, it's a little bit of slim pickings. Had to do some digging.
Did you find one?
But I mean, I kind of did.
Who is it from?
I don't know. Spruce Grove Corey. Do you want me to read it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, yeah.
Read it.
So Dennis Quaid is the actor you get when you wanted Harrison Ford, but he was unavailable. So that's kind of.
Tough to replace
Dennis
Han Solo.
Quaid, he's kind of a timeless wonder. Like
Yeah.
Rob Lowe.
Yeah. Tough divorce with Meg Ryan there.
She was lovely.
Yeah.
She was lovely.
I like Dennis Quaid. He's great.
What happened to Randy Quaid? Are they brothers?
It went crazy.
He went crazy.
Yeah.
Didn't he move to Canada to stay away from like...
Oh, yeah, from like he's wrapped himself in, he's got the tinfoil hat and all that stuff.
Well, he was Cousin Eddie in multiple vacation movies. There was even like a couple of spin-off movies about Cousin Eddie.
There was Cousin Eddie, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the life imitated art in this situation, Tommy, and we saw he's really Cousin Eddie with the trailer somewhere.
Well, and cross that with the character he played in Independence Day.
Right, yeah.
Right? He ends up being the hero. The movie's 30 years old almost. So, spoiler. He saves the day by blowing up his plane in the mothership. But he plays a crazy man, or a guy that was perceived to be crazy. So, good text of the day. Spruce Grove Corey?
Yeah, Spruce Grove Corey.
Well done. You get a GC to A&W. Trev, you're in touch with him?
Yep.
Lovely. Gager, are you back tomorrow?
I don't know. Am I?
I don't know. I don't even know if I'm back tomorrow.
Yeah, this is we're short numbers, so I don't know.
We're down a couple bodies, but we're making do here at EST as people deal with the cold. Scuba Steve, who won kind of easy trivia earlier today. Congratulations, Scuba Steve. He was talking about the cold he's been fighting. Something's going around. It's got its grips on Cass.
Yep.
So hopefully Cass gets better and is good to go for Saturday. Otherwise, you did a fantastic job yesterday on the pre- and post-game show, doing great on the morning show. Your first go-around. Did you feel more comfortable today than you did yesterday?
No.
Oh, okay.
But, it takes time, Tommy. It takes time.
Yeah.
I'll get some reads in. Hopefully my tongue doesn't explode like it did on the...
That was good.
That was a good one.
Hey, Belsey's getting good on Hello Hockey. Now I'm trying to get him. The next thing for me, and if he's watching or listening, Belsey, this is what's next. To get him to do the resets with the listener or the guests that we've got on, and then at some point, if I'm available, he can just do the show.
Ooh.
He's very smooth. He's getting good.
Well, I can come in and support.
You'd be great on Hello Hockey. You've done Hello Hockey.
I've done Hello Hockey.
Yeah. All right, that's going to do it for the Nielsen Show. Big thank you to everyone who tuned in, texted in. We appreciate you. Thanks for putting up with what basically was an extended edition of the Oil Stream post-game show from last night. The Oilers on a 6-game heater. McDavid, 900 points, 5 points last night. And we'll see if that continues on Saturday. I don't know if I'm back tomorrow on the Nielsen Show. We'll find out more. Hopefully Eric's good to go. YouTube, Trev, great work as always, my friend.
Thank you. I know for a fact I will be here tomorrow morning.
Okay, good. I thought you got the morning off today, so that was my bad.
I was surprised.
I was
surprised to see
No, it's all good. Pleasure as always, gents. And this was a lot of fun.
The boys are ready to go on the hangout. I see Will Fraser's ready to go. And who else is over there right now?
I don't know. Oh, I hear Matty.
We're good to go. All right, Matty's ready to rock. He's in a sling, and the hangout coming up next right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Big thank you to everyone once again for Joaquin Gage and YouTube Trev. I'm Tom Gazzola saying enjoy the rest of your day. I'll catch you on the Oil Stream at noon.